Do it, Hollow. Happy Friday, July 25th, everybody. Thank you for joining us for episode 14 of Virtually Incorrect. I am your host, Gunter. Those new to the show, every week I find 4 stimulating guests from the VR community to discuss and speculate on virtual reality in virtual reality. The tone is semi-serious with nothing off limits and nothing censored. And viewers at home, you might want to put your kids to bed. A couple announcements. We're looking for a good guest always, and also an editor. And a big thanks to Riftmax Theater for putting this on and having us a place to do this venue. And also to the VI team, Holotape, Rubik, and all my VI friends, and also the guest and audience members that are watching, and everybody watching. It's just really great to have the support. And another special announcement, the first Virtual Reality Awards event will be on November 28th here in Riftmax. And so I'm going to be one of the judges there, and basically each of the judges, thank you, are going to be able to choose from 5 nominations for each of the categories that will be out there, and basically all that will be counted up, and then there'll be a huge event where videos will be shown of the developers' demos. The people that won, they'll be able to get up on stage and say a little something, and if they can't make it, there'll be a little recording for them to have shown here. So I think that's a really rad thing. Again, that's coming up in November, so we'll have plenty of time to talk about it and prepare for it. And tonight with me, I have an exciting panel of VR developers and personalities. First up, we've got Gerald, creator of, and I don't know if I know how to pronounce this, Licht?
Licht. It's German. Hi, folks.
Licht. And so you spell that L-I-C-H-T, so...
It's Licht. But no problem, Licht. Everybody says Licht anyway.
It's almost like Licht.
Licht.
And up next we have APieceOfFruit. He's Team Metatron. He's an awesome friend of mine, and glad you could join us again for another round. APieceOfFruit, how you been?
Whoa, yeah, pretty good.
Sweet. And to my left we have Gaylor. Developer of VRChat, or one of the developers, and just a good friend as well. I'm glad you're here, man. How's it going?
I'm doing well, Gunter. I'm excited to have my hands working.
Semi-working, or are they working? Can you wave to me?
I'm gonna try.
No. Hello. It's
there
working, yes.
Oh, yes.
Well, it's gonna try. Yes, that sweet Napoleon Dynamite move. And finally, we have JamesMcCrae, creator of JanusVR. I'm really happy to have you here, man. How's it going?
Thanks, man. It's going great.
Yeah, it's a great... Yeah, totally, man. It's a great week, you know, for things. There's a lot of excitement, and we are going to talk about the DK2 shipping, the new SDK, Vanguard Valkyrie, which is a Kickstarter, and Trinity Magnum, some hardware that's also a Kickstarter, and a little story, a little blog post by Jesse Jespionage, who also is the developer of VRChat, and a few more things. So let's go ahead and dive into the first story, which is the DK2 is shipping, and you've likely read a post.
More fanfare.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, woohoo for sure. And so they're starting to ship. There's been a few posts about this, or a few hundred, and Oculus stated that they hope to have about 9,000 kits into the hands of developers by the end of the next week. So anybody here received their DK2? Anybody? Anybody in the audience? Nobody here. Gunter hasn't. How about a tracking confirmation? Anybody at the guest table here receive tracking?
Yeah, mine is on the way.
All right, so
Monday
most people.
Wednesday. Boo.
Yeah, I got my email
ordered it
today.
30 a.m.
Really? I ordered at almost
Who
noon.
was fastest in ordering?
What was that?
I said, who was fastest in ordering? I mean,
Yeah, like, not me, I'm new.
Order
I
time.
was 8:29.
That's fast.
A piece of fruit. How about you?
Ah, don't even get me started. For those of you who don't know, I am from the horrible little island of Ireland, and therefore to ship it to me costs, the cost of a small country feeding themselves for a year. It's ridiculous. I can't get myself a DK2 unless I'm willing to spend the cost of it to basically get it to me, and I hate it. Now, I know everyone else feels the same way. A lot of other countries or other places within the States even have that problem, but I can't justify it to myself, and I have to sit there on the Reddit, which I enjoy, with all you fine people, and read the same 12 stories over and over and over again. DK2 shipping, I got my email, LOL, and I swear to God, if I could reach through the screen and choke someone, I probably would.
But don't you like seeing the DK2 on a baby's head? That's cute.
In other words, that baby you can't appreciate it has a DK2 when I don't. I hate that baby.
Just curious, how much extra would it cost to have it shipped to Ireland?
You see, my perception is I went online in a drunken evening and went, I have a DK1, I don't need a DK2, there's nothing that requires me to have it to develop for it. I mean, the head tracking would be nice, but I can approximate, I can use the SDK, I can build for it. And then one night I went, fuck it, yeah, I'll go for it, I'll buy a DK2, and I went online and went, 300 quid, I'll spend that. Wait, 350? Okay, I'll accept that. 350, and then it's gonna cost me an extra 50 for shipping. Okay, fine, I'll accept that. Oh, and then it's gonna cost me an extra 98 for miscellaneous taxes and crap, and then I looked at it and went, I may be drunk and I may be willing to spend this money, but when I saw the number 300 increase to like 450, I thought, I can't justify it for something which is an upgrade. If I was someone approaching Oculus for the first time, getting my first thing, your first foray into VR is worth that money. But the person who's getting an upgrade, I would sooner give myself the wow factor of a CV1 for the first time as a jump from DK1 than spend the cost of an entire other tracking solution or external cool peripherals that I could work into the SDK I'm working on than just to get an upgrade. So it would be selfish for me to just get the upgrade for the sake of it. So I won't, and I hate all of you who are. So just putting that out there.
So you're waiting for another week when we all told you how cool it is.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, there'll be another evening I'll be drunk and have money, and I will. Oh yeah, I will. I will actually. I see myself.
Our heads will be like floating around our bodies. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
I'll be here, and there'll be a bunch of you sitting in a car in, a virtual bob in your head to, proper, just like rocking out, and I'm thinking, yeah, I can be part of that. And I will totally cave at that stage. But until then, I'm going to act like I'm above it all and be all aloof. So,
it's a new form of peer pressure, VR peer pressure. You must get everything that we have so that you're able to play.
Yeah, you gotta order some Control VR, some Omni, some Virtuix, all that stuff. That's the same thing.
Yeah, I guess we're going to start to see, things change then. Some of us will have some of those, some of us won't, and that's going to be interesting, especially in the social space, I'd imagine,
You just gotta support everything. That's the plan.
That's why we're in the early game.
On a quick side note from that, the whole shipping thing has already caused me to go back on my own word. Like, I've been on this show before, and I've praised the conceptualization of omnidirectional treadmills. I still think they're a powerful thing, and I think they're going to be a big part of VR. But despite being a backer and loving the Omni, or at least the conception of it, and I really want to own one, in light of recent delays and issues and whatever else, it gave me an opportunity to unback it, and realizing that the cost of a 350 quid piece of kit that would cost an additional 300 quid to get to my door, I'm literally buying two to get one, is, you know, I wasn't as rich at the time when I reviewed that decision as when I made it, and I had to unback it. So I want to own all this stuff. I want to support it. I want to be part of it. I want to be in this community. But quite frankly, until there is a European reseller for this stuff that allows, which I imagine is at least enough of a market to warrant it, you know, European developers and European backers to take part in this without the horrendous cost of delivery, I can't. And I feel like I am actively having to back out of a lot of the community, which I shouldn't have to, because I'm a fan and I want to be part of it.
And Gerald, I saw your name tag light up. Did you have something to add?
I was just wondering, a friend of mine, he's really ordering it all. There's not a single piece of equipment that is coming that he is not buying. And are there many of them out there, or is he the absolute freak that is the extreme case? What have you guys ordered? I mean, I haven't ordered much because I just lack the money and funds. But I want to try it all, and I'm in the lucky position that many companies sending this stuff to me for free, and so I can try it. But
cool.
For example, an Omni, I won't get a free Omni or a free, what's the new one, Cyber something.
Yeah, the virtualizer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the virtualizer, right.
So I'm back to the Omni, STEM, Prio VR. Didn't have the funds for Control VR. Really dig that though. And now that I'm living in an RV, or just moved into it last week, I'm not sure where I'm going to put this Omni.
On the roof?
Yeah,
I guess on the roof. Yeah, I was going to say the roof. I certainly have, you know, plenty of room outside, so I guess I could set it up under the awning and play with it for a few hours, and it might be kind of cool to do like a nature walk or a Skyrim walk while being outside.
You know, Gunter, you talked about the whole outside thing before, and the whole sort of natural air vibe of it. Well, imagine how cool it would be for everyone else watching you drive down the road in an RV while you're on the roof in an Omni, just rocking out in Skyrim. I mean, that is a pitch I would buy into.
Challenge accepted.
You need to like retrofit like a mobile like hot tub into an Omni-like device that you could just like run around in. That would be wicked. And just drive around.
You say hot tub?
Yeah, like a hot tub in your RV. Like I'm assuming you have this like pimpin' RV, but then like actually have like the hemisphere you run in like embedded in the hot tub of the RV. Have that like area you can run in, you know.
It's kind of cool, and you could do like when you're in the Rift, it's like a time machine.
Yeah, or I jumped in the river in Skyrim and the water jets start firing, you know.
That'd be cool, yeah. Oh my goodness, freaking water. We're gonna need more than one VR room for all this stuff. All right, let's move on to the next story. And Jason, your audio is a bit low. If you want to work on that a little, it will make you sound better, and I'm sure you would like that.
Don't feel bad about the whole Ireland thing, Jason. They're like beautiful country, man.
Yeah. I think everybody expects there to be like rainbows with pots of golds at the end there, so it might be part of the problem.
I actually was there I think it was in March of this year. Actually, Graham, I might be your former academic supervisor, Bobby Bodenheimer, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a presentation at a Symposium of Applied Perception, so I was in Ireland and I went to his talk. It was cool.
That's sick, dude. Oh, it's a small world.
And then he was
that's awesome.
And he was doing an academic presentation, and he was like dropping like the Oculus Rift in the presentation. You know, I was like, yeah, cool, seeing more VR stuff. You know?
Yeah, no, I convinced him to get the first one, and then before I left school, I convinced him to order a second one. So he's all aboard that stuff now. We actually have he's presenting our paper in is it Seattle? Like at the end of the month. So
cool. Which conference is that?
Is it SAP? I forget the.
Was it SAP this year? Symposium Applied Perception? Yeah.
Yeah, it might be. I forget.
Cool.
Yeah, I remember when you were still under his tutelage, basically you were talking about him when we first met in January when you started VRChat and you were learning from him. So that's really interesting that James, you've met him.
Yeah, he likes to wear Hawaiian shirts and stuff. He's pretty.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Sure.
He's really into his stuff. That's for damn sure too.
He is. He is known for his Hawaiian shirts every day. And he's been known to fall asleep while you are talking to him.
That's kind of rude.
Well, he's a busy guy.
All right,
he's heard it all before or something.
I think a lot of people are totally interested in our insider chat. Oh, Jason just left. How rude.
Maybe it was the Ireland comment. I apologize.
I made the Ireland comment.
I love Ireland. It's great.
So we'll just chill and talk while we're waiting for him.
Sure. So I haven't actually gotten a chance to jump into Janus in a while. But kudos to the multiplayer, the Mumble integration. That is all super exciting.
Yeah, it's moving along. It's just like there's so many requests and the features you got to add, and being a one-man show and trying to roll out your own engine. It takes time, man.
Oh, I got a request. Are you still in grad school and doing all that as your project?
I graduated, and actually, so it's not even a school project per se. In fact, I have a similar story to you. It was like a hobby and a passion, and I actually convinced like my supervisors at school, man, you got to check this Rift stuff out because these devices are amazing, right?
Hey,
super low
you want to
cost virtual reality.
You want to save that for the interview?
Yeah, totally. That's an awesome conversation to have.
Good content for later.
Dude, I have no idea what
hold on. Oh, yeah. So two things. We're going to see if Jason's feedback or his audio is good, and then I want to have a moment of silence because that'll help me in editing. I'll tell where there was a problem. So, Jason, you sound good?
Yeah, I went through my audio settings and put the sexy bar up as high as I could, so how does the sound now?
I have a boner. You're good.
Sexy bar.
All good, I like it. So, just as a quick lesson to those people out there, I was accidentally using my headset mic, and apparently it sounds like someone's pooping through a tin can, so I just switched.
Yeah, and I heard feedback. I was thinking something was going on. I even totally forgot that you have the Yeti, so yeah.
Yeah, so FYI to those people who want to get into the whole VR thing, or, well, the internet thing, I'm using a standard, whatever, 80 quid mic or 70 quid mic, and if you can notice the difference between my voice now and then, that's all it is, the difference between a shitty headset mic and an 80 quid mic. So, yeah, that's it. That's my...
What's a quid?
And I'm going to stop talking. Oh God! What you people?
Euro dollar.
You people freak me out. God damn it!
What do you mean, you people?
I mean all you
racist.
people.
I've never been called you people. That's weird.
I've had this in every Riftmax, every virtual fucking incorrect, every single chat with people who aren't either Irish or European. I've had to send every third sentence I said a kind of a translation. Quid is a universal term for, amount of money. It's whatever.
It's not the
dollars
the
or pounds
kind of money?
or whatever else. God.
It's any money.
Kind of quid do you use?
Quid. No, quid is just sort of money.
Okay, so what kind of monies do you use in Ireland?
We use a horrible Euro-ness.
So you use euro, but you also say quid.
Well, quid is like, see, if you think quid is weird, it's the same thing as
okay.
This is the whole big thing.
History.
We have a fist fight over it because I want to try it out.
After the show, stay tuned for the fist fight. Let's have a moment of silence for something out there that went terrible today. All right, let's pick back up with the next story, which is the new SDK beta version 0.4.0 was also released. And aside from the expected updates, such as full support for DK2, the SDK now includes a Windows-only Oculus display driver that will automatically output rendering directly to the Rift. Hopefully this will mean the end of all the fussing around with extended or cloned displays. How do you feel about the new SDK, and have you had a chance to work with it? And let's get it off to Gerald.
So far, I am lucky to not have touched it, but all the other developers are really not that happy with it. There are still too many problems, and I think it's really great that they're trying to put that many new features in there, but the basics are broken. And for example, I use a lot of deferred rendering because I love shadows and lights, and that is just not working properly from what I read. And now I'm wondering, do I really want to start right now with it? Or am I rather waiting for another week until they have fixed all the issues?
Interesting. It's probably smart to do that. What's your perspective, Graham?
So I haven't actually gotten a chance to look at it either. I am very excited for it. There are, a ton of new features which are going to be super cool, especially the being able to go between applications and I guess give the Rift access to 2 applications at once. I think that's pretty neat. You don't have to, shut one down, open up another. I think that lends itself to a lot of different cool applications. But we have, I think Jesse's looked at it a little bit. He'll probably be the one that ends up integrating it because I don't feel like dealing with it. But I am excited for it, absolutely.
And James, have you been able to try it, or have you read about it and have thoughts on it?
Haven't tried it. Read the change logs. A lot of good-looking stuff in there, like the direct rendering mode. Solves a lot of kind of pain in the ass problems on getting your window onto the Rift correctly and all that. So those are welcome changes. But my issue is with, I guess, cross-platform compatibility. Right now, they're initially rolling out version 4 on Windows only, right? And I kind of understand, like, they're obviously super busy with things, and it's a huge task to do that. And it's difficult, and they're trying to go for this very distilled, perfect experience, and I guess they're nailing it on Windows, and they're kind of working through Visual Studio and going that pathway, right? But so say I'm with JanusVR, I want to have it on every platform eventually, like Windows, Linux, Mac eventually. So right now, the fact the SDK doesn't work on Linux is kind of a problem, but at least you can start exploring and stuff. But they're going to have to roll out a solution to do the direct rendering, because they're going to have to use x.org probably has its own way of doing the direct rendering thing, so they've got to roll out a new solution. So the fact that they don't have the cross-platform support yet is understandable, but time will tell, man. I've got faith, man. Great company, so I'm sure it'll be out there eventually. So yeah, that's my stance.
It's a good, it's a good point. It really is important, and hopefully that'll roll out soon. How about you, Jason? What's your thoughts on the SDK?
God, you see, that's going to be my new, opinion on everything. You see, I totally get it. It's fantastic, and I get the benefits, but I get completely sidetracked by the giant feck-off warning screen they've now put in, and I get it. Legally speaking, it's sensible to have this big sort of warning, VR may cause trouble and blah, 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 blah. Please don't eat fiberglass, it may make your poop hurt. It's general terminology that's in there. It's important because it's needed for people who, are stupid. But as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't seem to be optional. It doesn't seem to be any way for a developer to integrate it in their game through the standard, here's a splash screen. And it feels very sort of Wii or Wii U in that term of you want to play your damn game and you see the same stupid-ass loading entry screen you see all the time. And I'm afraid it's setting a precedent where people just have a natural fear-mongering towards VR. I get it again, I get the understanding from their perspective, and I feel petty saying it, but it just annoys me that we're in a situation where we have to do that. I mean, I understand it's got difficulties and issues and people may feel sick and people may not understand that, but god damn it, why do you have to pollute my development with this big feck-off splash screen when there couldn't be just a public announcement or a general way for me to integrate in my game some means of me to put in a wall somewhere going, don't lick paint and eat this thing while playing VR. They shouldn't have to explain this unless it's on a wall there somewhere going, if you don't understand what feet are, read this, therefore it'll help you. I shouldn't have to go and mandatorily integrate it in and ruin my... Because I want to have that sort of integratory experience, that sort of you put on the headset, fade in and have some awesome sort of integration between your reality and this reality. But when you have to mandatorily have a pop-up which says, by the way, it may cause issues, that completely breaks any chance I have, and it doesn't seem to be optional, and yeah. That
could be worse.
So just put that out there.
On Virtual Boy, they kind of had the sort of load-up screen that said that, but in addition, every 15 minutes of gameplay or so, mandatorily this thing, this screen comes up saying, hey, discontinue use, eye strain, fatigue, blah, blah, blah. So imagine, it could be even worse, that every 15 minutes you want to use in the Rift or something, having a nag screen or something like that.
But is that the world we want to live in, where we're saying, this guy's only stabbing me in the foot every 25 minutes? It could be worse. He could be stabbing me in the face every 40 minutes or every 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, I'm with you, man. Zero compromises.
That annoys us,
I think it's something you should be aware of before you put the thing on, right? And then don't let it inhibit the experience. I'm with you, man.
Yeah,
totally.
it's as far as I'm concerned, I respect that people have issues, and I respect, like every other medium in the world, the people who are susceptible to flashing lights don't watch visual media which has flashing lights. The people who are susceptible to other issues know what their limits are, and they sort of live their lives with that in mind. If the limits are expressly viable and visible on the boxes, we shouldn't have to pollute everyone else's experiences with it. And I think I understand the need, I get it. I'm not being facetious and assuming that we don't need it, but I'm just saying it shouldn't be put in there legally to sort of exhume everybody from that issue, just and have that offset of everyone else's potentials ruined as a result. So why not have an optional, you can put it up here, if you don't, you have to bear the liability options, or you have to alternatively put the similar message in your game in some way, shape or fashion. Give the developers an out as opposed to having to be forced to have this option. And this sets a bad precedent in my mind, where it's setting that issue ahead of the developers' ability to craft an experience.
Some interesting points. Jared, what do you think? Do you agree with Jason, or
I absolutely agree. There are some points, especially, for example, in the manual. There's this one point that if you have a heart condition, they advise you to talk to your doctor. And I really wonder if I go to my doctor or my physician and ask him,
you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I have problems with my heart. I want to try virtual reality. What do I have to look for? And he will look at me and ask me, you want to try what? Virtual reality. What the fuck is that? And I think it's great that they are trying to be safe on all sides. Better safe than sorry. But some advice just doesn't make sense. And having mandatory screens is really annoying, I think.
Is it just annoying, basically, or is it a bigger issue? Jason, you were saying how you want to, maybe if you had to have it in your game somewhere because you want to make that first initial impression the way you want, because VR is different.
Yeah, I'm not naive. I like to think that I respect what they're going for. And I know how life isn't always fairly straightforward. There's a reason there is a don't eat this on unedible product thing, or on packets of peanuts, don't eat this if you're allergic to peanuts. There's a reason these things exist, because some people don't understand life. So I get it, and it's understandable, but the point is, putting the onus on the developer it's fine, but putting the mandatorily on the developer is a bit unfair, because whatever situation happens, the developer has to enforce it. And I get the rule, but I respect what they're going for, but realistically you should give the developer the option to say, we will back you, we will back your play, we'll put you on the share store, we'll put you on every medium we have if you subscribe to our rules. If you opt not to, you're on your own, that is fine. Alternatively, you can put the same mediums into your game as long as it's prominently displayed at least once, it's visual, and it's on a wall or surface that's visible and readable. Give them an out, but forcing this bloody pop-up is incongruous to this. Imagine a world where we're trying to go sort of in between worlds. We're trying to go from scene to scene to scene. How can we transition in a virtual world between my game to your game to someone else's game? Some API is built that allows us to, sequence between them. And every time we interchange, we have to pop up another bloody message. It is going to annoy us to no end.
Once that's a driver installation should be more than enough, I think.
And I was just going to say that, is it maybe a little too early? Like, this isn't even a consumer product, and kind of don't the developers know kind of what's going on?
Well, the whole idea is that the developer kit's preparation for the commercial, version. Sure. So the whole idea is to get used to whatever the protocol is going to be into the future for
I guess that's
consumer-facing game, right?
I said before, it reminds me of the Assassin's Creed's asinine opening sequence, where they cover themselves from all potential issues by saying, this was built from a multicultural group of people with various opinions and diverse ideas, and the ideas expressed in the game in no way indicate that... You know, I feel like I should put in front of every one of my games, this was built by me, one guy, with my opinions, and I am an atheist, and I also don't have diverse opinions, it is me. Therefore, all opinions expressed are mine. Have an issue? Well, want to fight about it? I don't care. It is my opinion. I feel like I have to
fight
express
about
that
it
now. It's stupid.
Alright, and just noticed a few people have joined us in the studio audience. Welcome, everybody. And if you'd like to have a seat in the stands there, please do. It's the left control key to sit. So you don't have to sit down there at those theater seating. You can come right up and have a seat. And at the end of the show, we will have audience come up to the microphones that you see in the front there and ask questions and kind of, participate. So, yeah, welcome. All right, any other thoughts on the SDK before we roll on? All right, so what I'd like to do now is a guest spotlight. I'd like to do a spotlight on Gerald, creator of Licht. Did I get it that time?
That fits.
Licht.
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 Perfect. Who was that?
Licht.
Licht. He's a James. The German. Sie sprachen Sie Dutch, Licht.
Ah, ja, genau.
Well, it's definitely a challenging name, and I'll have to keep practicing it. But besides that, I'd like to ask you a few questions. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became interested in VR and decided to develop for it.
Okay, I've been a fan of VR for decades. I was a little kid. I don't know if you know the CeBIT, the biggest IT convention in the world that is held in Germany, so I was there early on. And they had this VR machine back then. I was really a little kid. And I tried that and I was amazed. I was a big video gamer back then already. And when I was older, I was for the first time able to actually try it in an arcade. And I was waiting for it. Oh, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And just as all of us, it didn't come. There were some solutions that were just not good enough. And suddenly there it was. When Palmer finished the Kickstarter with Oculus and it was obvious, okay, this is going somewhere, I quit my job and decided, okay, I want to make games. I always wanted to make games, but now it's the point where I actually think I have to do it or I miss out on a big opportunity to revolutionize gaming. And that's where I'm right now, almost 2 years into game development.
Yeah, excellent, totally. And so tell us a little bit about your game, how you came up with the idea, and describe it for folks that have never seen it before.
Okay, Licht is an experimental game of someone that has really a few months of game development time. I got Unity, and I expected back then that I would get this, my Rift the same months, and then the Rift was delayed. And I was sitting there and, okay, I'm just learning Unity. And I don't know if everybody knows the Leap Motion. It's a motion controller that gets your hands in the game, basically. And they were offering free dev kits, and I thought, let's try that. That could be awesome. And they were saying, yeah, sure, we're sending you one. I was really surprised because I never made a game or anything in the field before, and they were sending me a free kit. I said, okay. And it was awesome. I really love the Leap Motion controller. It's a great piece of technology, and I just toyed around. There was this demo that they had, and I had no idea what to do. I had a finger, or I had my hand in there, but the tracking of the full hand, it was just not good enough. It's still not good enough, even though they have advanced it a lot, but I forgot about that. So I just decided to focus on a single finger, and a single finger in the game was represented by a sphere. So, okay, what do I do with a sphere in the game? I decided, I put a second sphere in there and I control that sphere with my finger sphere. And from there, I just experimented, and at the end there was a game. There was really no idea at the beginning. I was just looking what works, what is fun, and came up with, I can move a character with my fingers by pushing him through the full game. And funny enough, people liked it. People liked it a lot, and so I made that my very first game. And when the Rift came out, I added virtual reality support. which worked surprisingly well. It took me all of 5 minutes or so. And that's basically the story of Licht 1. Licht 2 will be a little bit more complex, but that's coming.
Excellent. And I thought you also did another project called VR Adventure, or am I confused?
I have about a dozen different games. And I've been trying different VR experiences. Aside from Licht, you can also play my game Gravity. That's on my website at indienerds.com. It's just a short 5-level demo that shows a completely new game concept. Also for motion controls, where you move around objects that have gravity and impact a ball that flies, that is supposed to hit a target, and the path it takes is influenced by the gravity of the objects you move. You can do this in 3D with the Leap motion controller, and similar to this concept, I have really over a dozen different concepts, and over time I will put every concept into a game. But I'm not working on the premise that, oh, I have this one idea and I want to make this one game. I'm really just experimenting what works, what is fun, and when I have something that is fun, I push it forward. And then I come to a point where I am new to Unity. I'm not a game developer. I'm a boring database.NET programmer before that. And I'm just getting stuck at some point, and I switch to the next project and forward that.
Interesting.
Over time, things get better, things look more professional. I don't know if anybody has seen the screenshots for Licht 2, but I dare say it looks a lot advanced in comparison to the first Licht.
I like your approach, you know, a lot of prototyping and just keep the development going and kind of see where it's going to lead you. So it appears that... Yeah, totally. That's what I think it needs to be for it really to be this thing that's going to sustain and maybe compete. But definitely, you know, to get the portfolio out there and learn. That's what I think this is all about. So your next game, I heard that'll be made for traditional screens and controllers with Rift and Leap support as optional. What was it that led you to do that?
Okay, as first, I've given up on the Leap motion controller. The tech is really awesome, but it's a dead device. It's going nowhere, there is nobody that owns it, and even though I expected that they may be trying a run at VR, they are so focused on getting the hands in there instead of working with what works. I mean, the hands don't work. You have to be realistic there. It's cool, it's a perfect gadget for videos. But if you want to build a game around the hand, you can forget it. The interaction area is far too small, and the hands obscure the side. It's just no fun in VR when you use a full hand. If you reduce it to a finger, for example, you can do strategy games, you can do a lot of 3D manipulation in the space that you can't do with a mouse. But they don't focus there, and quite frankly, I think they run out of money. They've just wasted too much money too early. So right now I'm really just focusing on keyboard, mouse and the gamepad, because that is something that I know people will have and that I have not to think about. What I really want to do though is Hydra and motion controls. Maybe the STEM Control VR is awesome, Prio VR is also awesome, but we have to see what actually will be bought by the gamers, because my first game, it got great ratings, but it did not sell very well. I made almost no money from it, and the next game I won't make the same mistake again, that I make a good game that nobody plays because nobody owns the device that you need to play it.
Right.
And right now I'm really hoping for Oculus to announce some Move-like, STEM-like controller at Connect and then target that device.
Yeah, that would be great, and I know that we've been talking about those sorts of issues and what is Oculus going to do, so that's definitely on everybody's mind, and is a challenge for developers. So you kind of did mention Licht 2. Is that what basically the future holds, or do you have any other plans for the future?
VR Adventure is there. My original idea was to make VR Adventure a game that is Zelda-ish, a real adventure game, as I personally would love it. But, everybody that is new to game development has this idea of fantastic, great games. And then they actually start game development and they notice, I can't do that, I lack the resources to that, for that, and the scale is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And there I am with VR Adventure 2. I really want VR Adventure to become my first really big game, and I don't know when I will be there. So for the moment I'm doing Licht 2. That will be procedural generated levels, so it will be big while still being small from a developer's perspective. And there are other things that I want to release, but it all depends on... most of my game concepts are based on motion controls. You do not want to show them right now because there is absolutely no market to sell them, and you do not want to give away 1 year of research into motion controls. You do not really want to show the ideas right now. And depending on what control devices will be there in the future, I will maybe say, okay, VR Adventure can wait, and I will publish this game first or that game first. I really don't know, and I personally think the great thing of being a one-man indie is that you are completely flexible. There is nobody that says you have to do this, or there is a deadline that you have to hold. I can develop the program that I like most at the moment.
Great, that's really interesting, and glad that you were able to share that with us. And that's basically the end of my question, so thank you. Let's move on to the next stuff, which is, let's talk about Kickstarters. There's a few of them going on. The first one I want to chat about is Retta Paul's Big Crazy Stupid VR Adventure and American Pie, which has 67 hours to go. It's already been funded, but more the merrier. And totally, he's an awesome guy. He's been on the show, and love his Ghibli demos. So who here has checked that out or backed that project?
Yep.
I back.
Jason? Graham?
Yes.
Have you tried the demo?
No, I haven't actually. I've tried the other two, but not this one. Or the other two Kickstarters we'll be talking about.
Yeah, I haven't actually tried this either, so I'm interested in hearing about it.
I watched him play the demo on the YouTube video.
That's something.
Play through it if anyone's interested.
Yes, we're interested. Jason, tell us about it.
I'm kidding. No, this is actually good.
You do start every time with a
Yeah. VR just exasperates me, man. There's just so much wrong with everything. But no, seriously, this is good. I hate this guy for a whole different reason, because he absolutely stole my heart, put a little box, and I have to give him money now, and I hate that. But no, fair play to him. It's a fantastic little project, and I love it, and everything is endearing about it, and I'm fully on board. The demo is exactly what he says it is. It's not a game. You are not paying for the thing he's releasing. That is not what you're paying for. You are basically saying, I want to be this guy. He is the heart and soul, the mascot of VR in this little ecosystem. He is the you that can't make it. For all of us people stuck in the middle of nowhere who can't go to Oculus share, we can't raise the money to go, so let's just give this guy a modicum of income and let his enthusiasm carry him there on like wings of rainbows, and let us see the story through his perspective. And that's what I'm backing for. I'll never go. I plan to. I wanted to, and I can't afford it. So instead, I picked the best mascot. I picked this guy who's extremely happy and fun, and I love his demos, and he's just a fantastic person to be around, and I just basically, his demo was just that. It is nothing. I would put that out there. It's a fun little thing he put together to show his prowess with what he's doing, and it's impressive from that perspective. But it's not an experience. It's not a game. It's not a thing you'll play or replay or experience from that perspective. It is simply a thank you. He released it when he didn't really have to. You have it as a thing to do, as a fun little sidebar. But realistically, you're backing a guy because you want the guy to have the experience you can't have. And what costs you 10, 15, 20 quid is the equivalent, again I say quid, I mean dollars or whatever, so shut all of you. Anyway, that amount of money is equivalent to whatever it is for you, and for you to give that away costs you little to give a person experience you can't have, and I think that's what matters. So that's why I backed him, and that's why I think the demo is actually unimportant. As for what it is, it's a fun little play at the concept of VR. He has a little byplay regarding the original Virtual Boy. There's a particular room which is full of shaders, which is specifically built to mimic the Virtual Boy experience, and it is very fun. And
cool.
There's something so compelling about his video experiences where you're sitting in front of a TV watching him, and I don't know what it is, but a person talking to you through the television is so compelling, where he's actively talking to you and then pointing to his left, which is pointing into the room you're in. Like, not like through the screen, no wonky 3D. I just mean actively a guy on TV going, look left, see that thing there? Yeah, pick it up or look at it.
Yeah.
And it is, I think he's touched on to something which is at the heart of VR, which is the sense of breaking your conception of reality from being just a 2D screen to being 3D. And I've ranted about this before, but I think he's nailed it in a small way, and I give him major props for that, in such a small demo, which is inconsequential. He's planning on doing more, and I applaud him for that, and I'm interested to see it. But people who are like expecting a great game out of it are not going to get it. But people who see it for what it is and enjoy the fun and the play, I think all in all it's a great thing to back. And I think it's realistically the heart of this community in terms of that experience of being the thing that you can't have if you can't go, and sort of back a guy to do it. And I think I totally respect people who do, and I respect you if you don't, because if you can't afford it, that's fine. But personally, I could afford to give away that amount to see this guy happy, because when he's happy, he looks fantastically fun. He looks like I wish I was
a fantastic
that happy
guy.
in life. Yeah. So
we got to chat to him a lot over there in VRChat, one of the developers chat that happens on Wednesdays. And what's great is it's successful. He's funded. So, I mean, now we get to see what he does, and I'm sure he'll be taking pictures, to say the least, and reporting back. So, how about you, Gerald? Have you heard of Reddit Paul? I'm sure you have. And what do you think of his work and that Kickstarter?
This is a typical type of experience that I skipped so far. Not because I don't want to try it, but because I would love to try it, and I want to try it with a DK2. I love all Studio Ghibli movies, and when I saw that, I was thinking, oh, this is so awesome, but it's not a game. It does not really hold any replay value.
Sure.
You will try this one time, and if you try it one time, you will try it with a DK2 at least, because you want the positional tracking in there, and you want to really look around.
Right.
And I think it's awesome. I actually wasn't aware that he does a Kickstarter, and I have no idea about his project, because so once we are done, the first thing I'm doing is heading over to Kickstarter and having a look.
Excellent. That's what we definitely want to do, is spread the words, huh? That's awesome. And the Ghibli stuff is great. I'm a big fan of all of that, and it was special, and I got to share it with my wife, and it was special for her as well. So apparently those are available for DK2. I'm not sure if that was posted on the Reddit or if it's part of being on the Kickstarter, but that's good stuff.
Yeah, talented dude for sure. I tried the Totoro demo and I don't know the Studio Ghibli and the animes, but the arachnid guy pulling the levers and stuff.
Yeah.
Talented dude.
Spirited Away, sure.
Yep.
All right, so there's another Kickstarter kicking. Radial G, there's 7 days to go and halfway there. This game's really rad. I played it, or this demo, and it reminds me, of course, of like Wipeout and those sorts of game, maybe F-Zero a bit. But you're on a tube, and and you can hit the speed ups or you can hit things that slow you down, and it's just great. It works really well. There's no nausea for me. It's just a blast. So have you guys tried this? Have you guys backed this? And let's start with James.
Well, I wonder fundamentally why the formula in Wipeout was you were on the inside of the tube. In Radial G, you're on the outside of the tube.
Yep.
So it's different and strange. I wonder if I don't know, I think like Psygnosis might have been one of the companies who worked on the initial like Wipeout series for like PlayStation, etc. But it might have been a design decision back then to go with like you're on the interior of the half pipe, just because it provides you a better view of stuff. I find when you're on a pipe and it has a narrow radius, you don't have a really good field of view of like the stuff on the track and stuff like that.
Maybe that's like part of the fun too, though. It creates the challenge. Maybe I feel like I've seen these tubes or these, like F-Zero or something else. I don't think it was F-Zero, but maybe Wipeout. You were on the outside sometimes. I feel like I've experienced that.
I think the Wipeout games I played anyways, you're principally on the interior of like a half pipe, right? There's like sweet jumps and all the rest of it, and speed ups and stuff. So those mechanics were there, but it was an interesting decision though that you'd be on the outside of this pipe, kind of thing, where it was cool that you could sort of 360 go around it, but yeah.
For sure. What's your thoughts, Graham? Have you seen this?
Yeah, no, I'm a huge Radial G fan. I backed them, played the demo, then backed them, I think. And it's one of the first demos that I've played. That was, I don't know, I was smiling and cursing at the same time while playing it. Whatever, trying to get the speed up. It was fun. High speed games are always fun. Especially, I get nauseous pretty easily. I actually had to take my headset off now. But that game did not give me any issues. So I don't know what they've done differently, but it's worked out well. Unfortunately, the problem is these Kickstarters are asking for a lot of money now. And for something like software, it's just so hard to hit that goal. So, I'm crossing my fingers. I'm doing what I can. I'm retweeting, I'm tweeting, I'm, talking about it. But, I don't even know if they're halfway yet.
Apparently they're halfway, and I think they're trying to raise $250,000, and some of the one of the rewards was to get one of the audio composers from Wipeout.
They're doing 50. I thought it was just 50,000.
I was confused.
30,000 euro.
Yeah, I didn't write those in my notes, so I'm sure I'm thinking of one of the other.
That's the other guy.
Valkyrie,
that's Valkyrie. Yeah, which is crazy. 150 maybe.
And awesome.
It's amazing. I love that demo as much, if not more. But that's so much.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. So yeah, your guys' thought, Gerald, on Radial G, and then we'll talk about Vanguard next.
I really like the F-Zero vibe of it. I don't know, I have seen virtual reality GameCube simulation on with the Dolphin simulator, and it looked pretty similar. I really like that, and I'm looking forward to it. I haven't backed it yet, but I have the demo for DK2 waiting on my hard disk for arrival of the DK2. And after I played it, I will decide if I back it or not, but chances are good I will.
Yeah, I think you will. It's pretty fantastic. Jason, what's your story?
Well, I was very back and forth on this. I saw the YouTube videos and I saw the links and I thought, yeah, I was a Zero. I was an F-Zero X fan and I loved the first game, Captain Falcon for the win. And I really loved that and I really enjoyed it. And I thought this was the renewal of it and I enjoyed the videos, but it didn't really get anything across. And then I even watched videos in Rift mode and put the headset on and thought, yeah, this is kind of fun. And then I installed it and played it and I kind of went, okay, well I've just realised I've spent 3.5 hours and I didn't realise I did that. So my point for this game, more than anything else, is it is very simple. Mechanically it's a simple game, it's a simple racer game, it doesn't innovate that genre, but the real golden star to this is it also perfects everything it does. It's done something I've not seen done in VR in a while, which is take a very simple mechanic and perfect it. In terms of, it's something which should make you sick by all accounts, by every other VR rule we've come across. They've managed to do it well. It is comfortable for something that's fast. It is well telegraphed in terms of these sort of twists and turns. In a situation where you're clamped to a car, the way they can make you feel like you can actually choose. You never feel like a failure jumps up on you. You feel like you failed by your own merits, which is surprisingly rare. And all in all, it's comfortable, it's well designed, it's beautifully done, and again, it's simple. I mean, people who go into it sort of expecting it to be amazing will, be disappointed, and the people who go into it looking for some big amazing experience on the videos will be especially disappointed. But if you play it, if you just have any dev kit and you give it a try, you'll find yourself enamored and have that sort of sense of joy from your original F-Zero X vibe, and that's what it is. It's just a harkening back. It's a simple game, but it's a simple game done where every twist and turn and mechanic was eked out to some level of complex design that I can't even fathom, because I've never seen something so well designed in something which looks like it was never designed at all. It's like the old Bender quote, or the old quote from Futurama of, if you do it well, it looks like you've done nothing at all, and that's all I can think of playing that game. Is it looks like no design was done to it. It looks like it was sort of, let's throw some assets in a bucket and put a circle and have the car drive around it. And people think, oh, that's easy, anyone could do it. But try. I bloody dare you. And you'll be amazed at how quick you feel sick and how uncomfortable. And there's so much clever design behind the scenes that you don't even see. And so for that reason I backed it. I don't think it'll be my number one. I won't play it for ages. It's not going to be an amazing super experience. But I will come back to it from time to time. I'll truly enjoy the experience. And for the money it costs currently, it's well worth it. And I will enjoy every minute of it. And even just to sort of applaud the developer for the level of work he's put into it, it's worth the few quid. And I think, I keep saying quid again, god damn it, I'm going to make a point of that.
You're allowed to say quid.
And I feel very conscious now. But I totally respect it, and I think congrats for that. So I would recommend backing it purely from how VR should be done right. And I'm very keen on that because I plan on working on the API with the other Metatron folks, so I want to work on why does certain things feel better than others if they feel the same, and I consider this a very powerful learning experience because they've done research that I haven't gotten around to. So yeah, I think it's very good, it's worthwhile. If it's not your kind of game, you'll never enjoy it anyway, but my point is that you can respect the mechanics and you can understand why it's good, not just for the game. If you can realise that you're enjoying it despite it not being your kind of game, you will respect it a lot more. So yeah, I give this a thumbs up, and I think everyone should back it for that reason.
Yeah, exactly. It's really cool, and you're right. It's like they've done something invisible there. It looks like it's simple, but obviously it takes a lot to make that kind of game. So another cool game is, like we mentioned, Vanguard Valkyrie. This is from Rave TZ, and there's 27 days to go. And the goal is actually 200,000. And all the backers will receive the demo right away, which includes an Easter egg if you start the game without your Rift plugged in. So you want to check that out. And so yeah, what do you guys think of this? And what do you think about the $200,000 goal? Is that attainable? And let's start this off with James.
Oh no, don't pick me. Pick someone else first.
Okay, Graham.
So, I thought this demo was extremely well done. I mean, I backed it to get the demo and play it. It's the same kind of deal. It actually reminded me a lot of Star Fox.
Sure.
The way that was played. So I think, I'd love to see this come out. We had the developer actually in VRChat at one of our dev meetups the week before he released it. So he's basically saying, yeah, there's a really cool thing coming up, but I can't talk about it yet. And I'm definitely not disappointed. I backed it. I think it's a super cool concept. The voice actors are great. The art's great.
Yeah.
The style is something a little bit different from what we've seen before, but he does it gracefully. That third-person view, he has a reason for it. Plus, it's a cute storyline. Cute characters. Everybody loves that. I'm definitely very excited to see where it goes. I do think that number is just so high, though. I feel like the VR community at this point has run out of money to give people. Maybe if he had done this earlier on, after we'd all spent our money on our Oculuses and our Omnis and our everything else, we'd have something left to give, or more to give. But I think a lot of these people are throwing up Kickstarters a little bit late in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be interesting to watch, and if it does succeed, that's definitely going to be telling of the money that's available maybe in VR, especially after DK2 takes a chunk out of a lot of people's bank accounts. And you made a good point about Star Fox. I really did get that Star Fox vibe, and I don't know if you guys remember a game called Panzer Dragon. It also reminded me of that.
Oh hells yes, I remember Panzer Dragon. That game rocked.
Yeah, I can't remember what video card I got in like my first Pentium computer, and it was some 3D card or something ridiculously ridiculous, and that game I think came with it or something, and it was rad.
Wasn't it Saturn only? I thought it was a Sega game.
So I think that's Panzer Dragoon, which is part of it, but there was Panzer Dragon was on the PC.
Oh, okay.
And it was like that virtual fighter, when that was. It just was in that kind of 3D-ness. I don't even know. Now it's been 20 years since I even thought about this stuff.
One of those 3DFX or early 3D adapter card games.
I love playing Virtual Fighter in the arcade as a kid. Oh, that game.
Sure. I was more of a Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter fan.
That was Mortal Kombat too.
Was hard.
Yeah, all of it. All of it.
Sure. Like to kick ass. So, what else about Vanguard?
By the way, that is the best of the Street Fighters. We had the shadow you following, and if you kick someone's ass at the end of a match, you could literally keep punching them. Like, it wouldn't stop till you stopped. So you could turn to the person you just beat and just stay there and combo for the next 4 minutes.
I didn't know that.
Awesome. Them dead in the eyes.
Hey, what's happening?
I was not
oh
a
my
fun
God.
person to win.
This is actually what's happening to me in real life right now. This is crazy.
You got a wife?
I do have a wife. I didn't say that, but yes. I found somebody to actually marry me.
I was saying he just jumped in your lap too, kind of thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I've seen that guy running around here. Welcome to Virtually Incorrect. I'm sure this is your first time, so you can certainly have a seat anywhere. Of course, it's best to have a seat that's open, and welcome. So enjoy the show. So what else about Vanguard Valkyrie? Gerald, have you seen anything on this or interested in it?
Yeah, I've seen it and it looks great. I mean, I think it's a little bit ahead of its time because it's promoted as VR only, and at the same time it has a production value that has a $200,000 price tag. And while I would love to see it succeed, and I think it's a great title, I do not expect it to succeed. It's just too expensive. And what I do not really understand is why VR only. The title should work with a mouse or a gamepad too. There is no element where I would say, yes, this would be awesome in VR, but I see no reason that it could work only in VR. And opening the door to a non-VR demo and promoting it as a normal game would actually make those 200k a reachable goal. But right now I expect that it will go to 50,000 or maybe somewhere between 50 and 100,000, but it will fail short of the 200k asked.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Let's talk about the Trinity Magnum Kickstarter, which has 25 days to go. It's a low-cost gun controller for VR, featuring optical tracking plus IMU. Holotape made a comment that this is, in almost every way, a PlayStation Move controller in one of those plastic gun grips. It is even compatible with the PSI camera. I'm, however, excited that they say they are trying to accommodate left-handed people as well as right. So, Jason, what are your thoughts on this? We talked a little bit about this before.
Whoa, left-handed podcast for the win.
Left-handed podcast.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, myself, Gunter, Holotape, and Matt are all part of Cousin Vex, by the way, are all part of the Left-Handed VR podcast, in which case this came up in our first episode and became the sort of the kind of title for the show is that, yeah, it occurred to us there's not many VR experiences for left-handed people, and we kind of realized we're all VR fans who are all left-handed, and Yeah, that aside, I think it's a cool thing. It's a cool toy, and I said the same thing to this I did that I said with the fan, which was, meh, I can afford that. I'll throw some money your way, providing it's cheap. I don't expect it to revolutionize anything. It may surprise me. I can afford to support it, and so I will. And I respect people who can't, because quite frankly, it's throwaway money if you can't afford it. But if you can, it's also throwaway money in a good way. So it's cool. It's interesting, but I don't think it's anything someone's going to be sort of humming and hawing, going, should I support it? Should I not? Realistically, you will or you won't. I'm hoping to take that issue off the developers from the whole Metatron VR API thing down the line, but regarding the consumer buying it, consider it an oddity, an interest. I wouldn't say back it if you expect it to be used in VR games, but if you're interested in technology, if you're a developer, if you want to try ideas, then go for it. And it's sufficiently cheap, it's worthwhile doing so. And I say cheap, it's not actually cheap, it's cheap in VR terms when it's backed against the bloody Virtualix or the...
How many quid is it?
Ridiculous things.
Thank you, everybody.
120, I think, if memory serves, or something along those lines. You can
not 120 my quid, though.
Local... Yeah, exactly. You can translate that into your own terminology. You know what? I'll build a quid to your currency translator at the end of this, and put it out there.
That's funny. Anybody else taking a look at this Trinity thing? Anybody interested?
Yeah, backed it.
I think
it was cheap enough.
Right. James?
I think, I was at SVVR, the Silicon Valley Virtual Reality Conference.
Sure.
And I think they had a sort of demo or, but they had a prototype or whatever available, and I think I tried that one, and they had like a little city you were in, you could like shoot up barrels and stuff like that, and it had this sort of characteristic feature where it had like the sort of bulb on the front, like for optical tracking, like the PS Move controllers have. It worked pretty good. It was a pretty good experience. So you could kind of you just kind of ran around the city. They had sort of like a joystick control like scheme. I had a little bit of difficulty with it, but it's pretty good. Especially for like an independent, like an up and comer, compete with the stems and the other guys who are already kind of established in the. It's pretty good.
And something cheap is good.
I honestly think it's a perfect compromise. Because for a developer, you can target the PlayStation 4 and Move controllers, while at the same time target a device like that. The only issue that I have with it is when Oculus is showing their device, I'm expecting them to do exactly the same. Offer a device that is comparable to the Move controller, so that all experiences for it that are created for the PlayStation 4 are interchangeable, so that they can work in tandem with PlayStation and Sony, and they will offer it cheaper. They will offer the exact same device. They will have an EMU with a higher rate, and whatever. I don't know what rate the other device has, but I expect exactly the same device, maybe another form factor because the gun looks really too long, from Oculus for maybe half the price. So you can buy for the same money two and have both hands. They can be made cheap. The Move controller from Sony is super cheap. So I think it's a perfect device, but at the same time I would never buy it, and I would not recommend buying it.
It's great. It's very interesting and super logical. And I love how you say you wouldn't buy it at the end, though. So there's a lot of other stuff to buy, though. So it's not like you'll need that when you have some of these other things.
But you get the other things, but are they supported? I mean, it's great to have a Leap controller because you can have your hands, and it's great to have a Prio VR because you can get your body, and it's great to have a Control VR because you can have your body and your hands. But it all sucks if it ends in the corner gathering dust if no developer supports them. And what will developers do? Will they try to go for every little device that is out there? Or will they look what is out there that has actually enough buyers that it makes sense to invest the time to support the device in your game? And that will mean STEM will have a hard time. all the other countries, they will all have a really hard time. They will all have to compete with whatever Oculus will show.
Yeah.
And most developers will just say, no, I do not care for the 1,000 devices that have been sold, for this SDK that has been offered by them, that is not even half as good at whatever Oculus will be showing. Oculus will really dominate that market from all corners. And it's sad, and I really hope that many of the other projects will survive, and things like Prio VR and Control VR that are more prosumer than consumer, they have a chance of succeeding. But everything that you can expect to get from Oculus at this point, I would not buy an alternative from a smaller company.
Make good points. And Jason, I know that you probably have some comments on this. We've spoken about this.
You'll have to be more specific, though.
On inputs and, the API thing that you're working on with Team Metatron.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we're in a nexus of research, and I've said this a million times, but I think we live in a world where nothing's perfect in regards to input. Computers are always a magical black box that we sort of poke out with a stick, and our current stick is keyboard and mouse, and we've got muscle memory for using it, and we've gotten pretty good at it, but realistically it's stupid. A keyboard and mouse is a horrible medium to interact with the magnitude of the internet and computers and whatever else. Never mind bringing in the power of an extra dimension and having 3D. And I think no device has managed to fix that. Now, granted, it's a 50-50 between it's the fault of the device and the fault of the software, but I think it's more so a framing issue. A lot of these devices aim for perfect one-to-one, let's track where the gun handle is in relation to the screen, or let's track the Hydra hand in relation to specifically picking up an object realistically, and you end up getting that sort of humping the object with the back of your palm, trying to pick it up and hovering it above your hand in this horrible janky way. All told, I think that's a software issue. I think the problem is it's a combination of the two. It is people expecting too much from the hardware, and people not working around its limitations. So, all told, I don't care what device people come up with. I think at the end of the day, there's going to be a bazillion devices, and I don't know the answer, and nobody else does. Someone could come out with the stupidest ass looking thing in the world, and it turns out to be the #1 VR peripheral. So go for it. If you have an idea, just go nuts and release it. And we're all stupid with our money that will probably back you in some way if you don't ask stupid amounts of money for it. And regarding the end result, I think the problem is a mind shift. I think people have to forget about trying to approximate reality in VR. I think this idea of giving you one-to-one picking up items and rotating it in VR is stupid. In the same way that we have an internet which is predominantly based around expressing pages. Literally, the internet is in form of pages, and that is someone just looked at their paper on their desk and said, let's digitize this. How stupid is that? You get a whole new medium with which to interact with the world in this interactive, cross-platform, amazing way, and what do? You approximate paper. It just drives me nuts that nobody tried to innovate that space. No one tried to look at a way, how do you completely reinvent the way we interact with the internet? And I'm afraid VR is going to do the same thing. We're going to end up with the VR equivalent. And I think inputs are a problem with that. Every input is aiming for that one-to-one pickup, which is forcing people to aim for that, which is forcing that whole prospectus inbound. But I think if people look at VR input as an approximation of where your hands are, an implication of intent is the way I'd phrase it. An implication of the person who's using its intent of what they're aiming for. If the developer is smart, if the tracking is efficiently good enough that you've got enough accuracy to aim for that, you can build amazing things that are almost prescient and, you know, they're able to read your mind and be purely powerful using the dumbest, most janky, most inaccurate tracker, providing you live within the limits of the software or the hardware you're using. So yeah, in summary, I don't care what you make. I hope you make the best thing in the world, go for it, whatever else, but you need to find good developers, you need to work on what you're aiming for, and someone needs to reinvent the VR wheel when it comes to interacting with the world.
I definitely think for VR for sure. But one thing I think about like websites and pages is it's a familiar pattern that people can understand. If you try to kind of go way too out the box and people can't really relate or like what the fuck is this, then I don't think they're going to use it. And so it comes back to like people need to use it. So how can we do that? And now we see the web, it's much more evolved and it's doing a lot more. It might be a good segue to talk to James, because you're playing in that realm a little bit.
Let's get into this open web metaverse shit for sure. I've been waiting all day for this. You got one whole half the table doing shit like this, man. So
that's right. And then we're here in a metaverse. Yeah. So yeah, you're
Absolutely.
The creator.
Oh, Riftmax, VRChat, they're all part of that umbrella for sure.
Yeah, you're creator of JanusVR, something I haven't actually gotten myself over there to play and try enough, but I did, and it was a little while ago. It is shameful. It's actually one of the issues I'm running into is trying to do and read and stay on top of all the things with all the things going on. But anyways, so yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became interested in VR and started developing for it.
This is a too open-ended question. I don't want to ramble on long, but
I'll cut you off. No,
right.
Please.
All right, let's keep it in the context of the project, JanusVR. So, I grew up like a lot of you guys, loved video games, loved computers, wanted to learn to program, also loved sci-fi novels, and all that stuff, Star Trek, Star Wars, the Snow Crash, this recent Ready Player One, all that stuff. I'm all in. I love it all. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, man, I want to make the fucking metaverse, you know what I mean? And I've been going to school for a billion years, studying something like graphics, and I've got a pretty good skill set behind me that I, have a good shot at putting together something reasonable, something that's a pretty good proof of concept. So where the VR stuff came in was just like, I'm also a huge gamer as well, and I've been content with my video games, playing it on like a 2D screen. Then when the NVIDIA 3D Vision came out, I was all over that, all active shutter display on these glasses. This shit is awesome, 120 hertz display, and then you're good to go. Played through like Oblivion, Elder Scrolls, I love those games, all of that, immersive environments, in this 3D-esque, looking into the aquarium-like thing, having a blast. And then, I saw the Oculus Rift Kickstarter, the $2.4 million funded, sort of huge, marketing pitch, like, let's make VR big. And I was just like all over, so I'm like, oh my god, this is the thing of my goddamn dreams.
Yep.
So I was like, absolutely, I will purchase whatever you say. This is amazing. This is whatever I do. If I had all your resources available, or, if I just had that machinery behind me, this is exactly what I've always wanted. So obviously, went to Kickstarter, got the DK1, wanted to contribute to the community, wanted to make something, and
Janus, or Fire, what was it called before?
Originally it was called Firebox, and I was really worried for a long time that, oh my god, Mozilla Mozilla's a foundation and they have a corporate wing, but I was worried Mozilla, the entity, they're going to be so pissed off at me. But it turns out, actually, at SVVR, I met a few representatives from there, Josh Carpenter, who's working on VR stuff at Mozilla, as well as Vladimir Vukicevic, who works on, he was originally one of the creators of WebGL. And so they're both working at Mozilla now. I'm like, no, man, we think Janus is cool, and we think it's so amazing that you've kind of want people to want to build the web. Their big problem being that they pitched Firefox, they got a lot of users, but they don't have so many builders. So he's like, it's kind of cool that you've formed a community around something where people could build these 3D rooms, these spaces, the environments. So anyway, to bring it back full circle, yeah, they weren't pissed off that I called it Firebox. They weren't going to sue my ass into oblivion and everything. I could have kept the name there, but I didn't want to infringe on, copyrights, trademarks, and etc. So I changed the name to Janus, which is this Roman god of doorways, where he sees into the past and the future, or the forward and backwards at once. But he has this sense of duality in his vision, and so Janus VR is a sort of spatialization of the internet, where web pages are like rooms and links are like doorways that connect them. So these links or doorways, or portals as I've come to call them, are very much like Janus, where he peers into two spaces at once. The portal itself is this surface that represents a discontinuity that joins two adjacent spaces. So, is that good?
Yeah, that's really good. I wanted to ask then, like, the whole ghosting situation that you got going on there, that makes me think of this whole seeing into the future, seeing in the past. Talk about that a little.
What do you mean, ghosting?
Can't you see ghosts of people that have been to the space before? Yeah.
So these are like, think of like Mario Kart like recordings of people who viewed spaces before. So it's like kind of a way to populate a room with people who aren't actually real live people. But there are like, I guess they're acts or plays of people that existed, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so you can use Janus. You can kind of hit record, and it will kind of spit out a text file that kind of has the, all the data for your character, and then embed that into your page or your room. So the rooms themselves are kind of very HTML-like. I've tried to borrow from that or use an XML-like format in terms of their description, but there is some sort of custom stuff there. But you can plop these ghosts in, and you can kind of have these non-live guys inhabit your world. But that was only like a stopgap or a bridge into actually the multiplayer experiences. And the multiplayer stuff came out in Janus maybe only a couple weeks back. So I've actually been working hard on that, and I've got a new version with a new re-architected sort of server idea that will scale a lot better, because previously I was using actually like a text client, and everyone's packets came through as plain text, but now I've got sort of a larger server. It could be more distributable, a better model for it. Basically it uses kind of these TCP sockets, so it will scale a lot better. Yeah, but I have yet to roll that out, so that'll be like version 24. I want to have custom avatars. Like you've got, like everyone in JanusVR are these blocky, weird dudes. But you guys got these slick, fully modeled, like, dudes with heads and the face talk.
Yeah, I've seen some of the video, one of the videos on the social stuff kicking there, and saw those avatars. They reminded me of Minecraft, just simple, just what you need, right? And that's kind of how the social VR stuff started for me. Was last August 5th is exactly when positional audio via Mumble, which you guys are using Mumble as well, dropped on the Metacraft server, and it blew my mind. Few of us were basically in the game when that happened, and we all spawned to the same location, and it was like, holy crap, this works. And just doing the simplest of things and getting astonished by it all, and then doing that for 6 months, and now we have other places to do this sorts of thing. So super cool. And
Metacraft having a particular game is one thing. The way that I'm going with Janus is kind of the idea of a direction that an open web or a metaverse or something like you might have read about in Neil Stephenson's Snow Crash might have foretold, where these are actual spaces that you can go to where you can actually run into people and mess with people.
I would, and same thing. I mean, what you're doing is definitely different than Minecraft, of course, but what is interesting is the social Mumble thing that's going on position audio, and there is a Black Sun club that was built there. So
absolutely, I put down some obsidian blocks in the Metacraft server for sure.
Oh, right on, you were there. Sweet.
Yeah, man, hell yeah.
That's super cool. What else? How about the future?
With respect to what?
With Janus.
Keep building on the feature set. I'm kind of a one-man programming show. I don't know. I want to give shout-outs to a few people if I could. Is that all right? All right. One guy in the audience, Custer123, otherwise known as Lee Nolan. He's created VRsites.com. It's a place you can go to like host your 3D content, your worlds. So he's one of these dudes who just found Janus interesting and got involved with the project. Amazing. There's this crazy programmer out there. Her name's Lisa Croxford. She goes by Lisa Lionheart on the forums. She's made like a thing where you can use Google SketchUp to create the spaces. And she's also coding all of the server code for Janus, which is out there in open source. It's on GitHub.
Right on.
And there's piles of people who are making these super interesting rooms. Just to name a few, Dante Vasquez, Firefox G, Codename Circle. They're all like doing really cool sorts of rooms and kind of pushing the engine and forcing me to consider things more and have infinitely far viewing distances, and they're making like Elysium and stuff like this. It's madness, man. But into the future, what do I want to see? I would almost want to see, right now, you know how you go to a website, you have www.blah, but you might have like a .m subdomain, which is like the mobile version. How great it would be to have like a vr.google.com one day, where the server actually returns back to you sort of a VR-enabled or VR-enhanced, page content for you. once there's that adoption there where they actually recognize that, VR is a big player and that it's worth doing, I think, yeah, that will be a great future. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to push to show evidence that, that could actually be really cool. There are actually a lot of great applications for it that I could go on and on about, but yeah, these are my visions of the future.
Sweet, thanks, James, and definitely want to talk more after the show. We're going to have a little party, hang out, and chat more, so we'll dive into it further.
Cool.
All right, so another story. This one's actually from Jespionage, code developer on VRChat, and he did this blog post called "Arrival of the Train and Tiny Airplane Windows: Building a VR Experiences with Motion." And so what he did is he kind of drew an analogy between kind of one of the first films when film came out was this train scene. It was just basically the train coming into the station and then people finally boarding it. And so what was interesting, and he had a little video of that you could watch, which was really neat, but apparently back then, when this was shown in the theaters, it kind of scared the hell out of people, to the point where they're like, oh my god, this train's going to come right through the screen and get me. And so they were running out of the theaters and whatnot. So he was making point to, like, if we think about the best practices and how we don't want to hurt people or we don't want to have them have any issues, get them motion sick, or best practices is seated experience, that look how things change with film. Obviously people aren't jumping out of their seats, they don't think anything's coming out of the screen. It just kind of takes some time to kind of wrap your mind around it. So I thought that was kind of an interesting topic to bring up, and we'll just start with
I actually proofread it for him. I was at work. He was like, will you give me a quick proofread? And I was like, yes, I suppose I can take a break.
Yeah, maybe you can kind of talk about it a bit more than what I just said.
Sure. I mean, I'm pretty much, hit the nail on the head. It is a pretty simple write-up, but basically the lesson is, we have these best practices guides that are based on what we've seen so far in VR. Oculus has the most experience with, what works and what doesn't work, but it's not the, the word of God. It's not the all, it is the truth. That is the way it is.
Right.
Rules are meant to be broken, and some things may not work now, or may not work for some people, but that doesn't mean you can't push those things to the limit and then maybe go around them, or maybe even completely break them. So his, I guess, idea was, if you were to have some fast-paced moving game, give people the option to have kind of like another view to look through. So, you're in an airplane, you're going super fast, but, if you look through a tiny little airplane window, it's all relative because you have the rest of the airplane to look at. So he was basically saying, if I want to have this super fast, flying game, have two different modes, one for the super user, and I want to be able to fly and be Superman, and who I can handle the dizziness, or have a mode for, okay, I'm in a cockpit, or I have some kind of helmet on that gives me a relative place to look at. So I think that's what he was. Yeah, I think he's sick and tired of just hearing everybody, this is the way it has to be. That's not true. And obviously, Oculus knows it. They're just putting stuff out there for people to have something to start with.
Yeah, it's a starting place, and I think we are hearing more of that. I thought it was a really interesting blog post. Gerald, what do you think about, I think we've talked a bit about already the best practices and stuff like that, but any thoughts on this story?
I haven't read the story, but my personal take on the best practices, they are nice and they are a good guideline to start with, but as he said, they are rules that are meant to be broken or at least bent. For example, one of those things that people always think won't work is catapulting people through the air. That sounds like something that will make people sick. And I was following that rule and was not doing it, and then I was thinking, but I personally love it when that happens. And I was building a game concept completely around every time I have this catapult, I will also have a dimension door or some alternative that the player can go to the other side without using the catapult. And then I demoed it to people, and everybody loved the catapult. Nobody was saying, oh, this is making me sick, or this is not comfortable. And then I released a super simple demo to the group, low poly, where you were thrown 100 meters in the air in cloud level, and then you come down. And everybody was, that I talked about it was, oh, are you sure this is working? And everybody tried it, and nobody, really, I had nobody that said, oh, this is uncomfortable. Everybody said, oh no, this works fine, I'm surprised. So those guidelines are guides, but break them and try everything out. There's nothing fixed in there.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, rules really are meant to be broken and pushing the envelope, but it's definitely a starting ground. Now, James, for Janus, are you considering things like the best practices, and what is your kind of thought?
I read it for sure. But I think Graham kind of touched upon it, is that, you know, they're not God, and it's a matter of their opinion, and it is a matter of their experience. Albeit it's very good experience. It's something that you should consider heavily, but I don't deviate from trying other things or exploring it myself, or, you know, going through that learning process on my own to figure out what works and what doesn't. So, you know, whether that'll bite me in the ass in terms of getting JanusVR on Oculus Share, which I'm currently trying to do right now, is to be foretold, but yeah. So my stance is, you know, take it. You know, it is ultimately it's an opinion, but it is, you know, some aspects of it are, you know, scientifically defined. Like some things are actually quite true. Like they say, because they're aware of the optics and the display and everything, that you kind of want to generally have the user looking at objects, you know, along a depth plane that's something like 2.53 meters away. I don't remember the exact value, but there's a heuristic like that. You don't want to be gazing at things that are especially close for extended periods, or doing anything in your engine that will purposefully discomfort someone, you know. So I'm valid with things like that, but other things, they also have restrictions on rate of movement speed. For instance, average human translates at 1.4 meters a second, but in Janus, the way that we have it is that any sort of room you make, it's a free-for-all in terms of how the physics are defined. Maybe there's one guy, Firefox G, he's got a room you translate like 144 miles an hour, and it is like super fast, but I'm personally not sickened by it, so it really varies by individual, and it's fun to explore. Like you said, you know, how these are the fledgling VR days. I'm happy to be a part of that too, because, you know, I get to verify these rules that they define in the document myself.
Excellent. And was going to kind of talk more about the best practices, but we've kind of been, you know, beating that horse a bit. So let's move on to another guest spotlight.
Well, speaking of beating a horse, you should talk about the demo. What is it? Horseulus or something
horse?
Like that.
Totally. That's the one that we saw Palmer riding in that short video.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I did see another video, you know, it's something in Japan, a little arcade that had that setup, which I thought was cool. I'd love to be able to try something like that, you know?
Hashulus, that's what it's called, I think.
What's it called?
It was like a Hashulus, I believe, and it had like a row of 4 people trying it all out at once, racing each other kind of thing.
I mean, people want to race, of course, and I really thought I'd like to see riding games, more than just like riding in a roller coaster, but like riding on animals. You know, I want to ride on a Tyrannosaurus Rex or something like that, and shoot lasers. Cool. So Graham, let's have a chat. You've been on the show. We've chatted before. We're friends. We've been hanging out in your software VRChat since January when it came out. But go ahead, for people that don't know you or are just watching for the first time, a little bit about yourself and, you know, how you got into all this.
Sure. So I'm a big gamer ever since I was little. I guess I'm a little younger than most of y'all. My first console was the N64. You know, ever since then.
You are young.
A little bit, yeah.
To be young again.
But you know, ever since then, really loved them. Went to school for computer science, so it's something I've always done and enjoyed. And not really until I guess I didn't get to experience the first VR flop, so to speak. I was, born that year. But, as soon as, it's always been something that's piqued my interest. Of course, nothing has really been out. And then once I saw the Oculus Kickstarter, obviously things started picking up. I started, teaching myself Unity. I had done all sorts of different kinds of programming, a lot of mobile stuff. But once Oculus showed up, I jumped into Unity and did, everything I could to, teach myself. I, picked up some research positions at my school. Convinced luckily we had a VR lab with all sorts of crazy equipment, super expensive headsets, and motion tracking cams. So did a lot of research in there. Convinced my professor to get a Rift. Had my own Rift, and it wasn't really I'd screwed around with it and created a couple of small demos, but it wasn't until I guess this past December I was on my last winter break of school, and I was at home bored and figured I'd throw together a simple VR chatting solution because there's not really anything out there at the time. So put it together, just basic package, and put it online, and people actually started using it and enjoying it. And that, to me, was one of the coolest experiences that I had, come across was, building some software, and then people using it, enjoying it, wanting to see more, requesting things. So I spent the rest of my semester, which was not very, filled with class. It was my final semester of school, working on VRChat, and picked up Jesse along the way. He's been, he has 15 years of game development experience, and now we are just, cranking out features, trying to, listen to the users and see what people want, and just going full steam ahead.
Yeah, it's come a long way. So in January, was chomping at the bit to test and help give feedback and start playing in there. And we've come all the way from hipster Jesus T-pose.
Yeah,
avatars that still had to figure and work some of that out. And to now there's a full SDK, and we see people making stuff in VRChat. One person who makes the most stuff is Dark Akuma, who is just awesome.
Shout out to him.
He's made people avatars, imported them in. He's made custom rooms. He has a ton of avatars himself. He's an amazing troll. He likes to troll us sometimes with the rooms he creates. I consider him kind of a VR chat god at this point, because he's always finding unique things that you just wouldn't even think is possible.
Oh yeah, he surprises the developers. We don't like half the stuff he does. Like we definitely do not support that yet. How is he doing that? So
yeah. It's great to see. I wish I had more time too to get in there and play, because that's a great playground. And I was even able to commission Dark Akuma to make an avatar for me in there. So that kind of thing's really cool. I like the idea of people building stuff for other people in VR, so that other people can take advantage of that. So yeah, super awesome. Yeah, what else is going on in your life? The future of VR chat, or just anything else that's going on with you?
It's complicated. I decided out of school that I was gonna go the route of full-time work. VRChat wasn't, it had potential, but I wasn't really sure, if that was something I wanted to, pursue full-time. So I am currently a full-time game developer at Zynga, which I enjoy very much. But I'm also
excellent.
Also, almost full time on VRChat. When I wake up and when I go home after work, it's been very busy. It's literally nonstop programming. This is a nice little break. But it's I'm not sure what the future holds. There's a lot of decisions to make to see what's going on. But
cool. And I had another question here. You were mentioning how you brought Jesse on board, and curious how you met him and how that all came to be.
Sure. So Jesse reached out to me on Reddit, I believe, basically saying that he thought VRChat was really cool. I had tried his demos, so I was, thoroughly impressed with him. I knew he knew his stuff. And he was like, hey, I'd love to help you implement custom avatars. I think there's a really, sweet way to do this. I was like, I hadn't given out my source to anybody at this point. I was hesitant to do that. I wasn't, really sure all the legalese junk. But I knew I didn't want to make it open source at the time, just because a lot of the things I were using I had paid for, and I couldn't make it open source.
Yeah, that's right.
So I brought him on board. He implemented Avatar stuff. It obviously worked out wonderfully. And, we kind of kept in touch. He was really excited for VRChat, pushing it more than I would have. I was going to, work on it until the end of school and maybe keep up with it. But, he was really excited for it. He basically, at the end of the day, was like, hey, I want to keep working on VRChat, but, I can't do this for nothing. We need to partner up. So at that point, I was like, why not? Your stuff. Let's do it. And that's how we came to be.
All right, awesome. Yeah, he's awesome. I really enjoy chatting with both you guys. It's a great team. You see how things are just evolving a lot there, and we enjoy hanging. What else do I got on my list here? So between, the conversations you have with Jesse and what you've had with, us, the VR community, how has your opinion of what the metaverse will be and how it will change over, or how it has changed over the last year?
Let's see. Obviously, the metaverse is going to be built by its users, and I think that's what all of us are doing right now with VRChat, Riftmax, and Janus. We're all giving the users the ability to create things, because we can't build it all ourselves. Obviously, there was no metaverse at the beginning, and now we have a couple different early concepts of it. But I still am of the opinion that we will see something from Oculus that won't blow us out of the water, but will be a good platform for us to. As far as the metaverse, I think obviously there'll be multiple different versions, as just different games that each do separate things. Each have their niche. They do something well. Either surf the web, they chat, they view movies, etc., etc. But in any case, it's a win for everybody, just because that is the future. It's everything we've been waiting for. If you want to be a part of it, you can be. I don't think. Or I do think that whatever the solution is going to be, there's going to be room for everybody to work on it, especially with that RackNet open sourcing and then purchase. There's something in the works with that there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, let's open this up actually to the panel.
I have an interesting experience to share as well. So I was at SVVR and I met with Palmer Luckey, and I actually said, "Hey man, did you ever try JanusVR, right?" And he says, "Yeah, I did. Here's the issue." I was like, "So what do you think?" He's like, "Well, this is a really competitive space that you're entering, you know what I mean?" And he didn't really go into the details, so, NDA probably held back, but, there would be competitors was basically the message that was delivered there. But that's not going to stop me from innovating in my own way and trying to do something maybe that, you can't just fear that, the fear of the lack of knowledge. You don't know that some other guy has some metaverse in the works or something like that. And maybe they've got some Titan billion-dollar thing behind them, but maybe you, on your own, can program something innovative or new that they've not seen before. So, I took that knowledge and I was like, yeah, okay, but I'm trying to go somewhere different. I'm not even using their pre-made integrations with Unity and Unreal. Like, I'm rolling out my own things, so I'm completely unrestricted in any sort of direction that I can take the projects. But that was interesting interaction anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Made me aware of that's going on, man, in a serious way. So, yeah.
So
I'd rather take a metaverse from you than from Facebook.
Yeah. A lot of people are going to have that opinion.
My long-term plan is to open source the thing, right? So, of course you want to go that route.
The metaverse might be open sourced. That might be the way
I could totally see that, and that's definitely an awesome position, and I agree.
I mean, and you can see people partnering up later, if it makes sense. So as things change, that's kind of going to be the name of the game. And who are even other smaller people that are doing stuff right now? It's certainly really interesting.
I'm aggressively trying to find partners with it now that are even in the industry that can, elevate it or bring it to another level beyond just, I'm a guy with a dream to create the metaverse kind of thing.
Right.
So, I'm talking with Mozilla. I'm talking with some of these people in the industry, book publisher types.
It's funny.
I was actually just I had a recent meeting with, Ubisoft. Hey, you brought up Assassin's Creed earlier. They do Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft. So they have an office in Toronto. It's where I'm from. And I had Jade Raymond or whatever, the director. It's a funny story. I'm just talking about randomness, but so she tried out JanusVR or whatever. I demoed it there, right? And I kind of told a few of these guys that I'd be doing that. So they kind of followed her, and she went through one of the portals. They didn't like follow her in, but then like as she came out, they were all like kind of like peeking the heads like respectfully from like behind like a distance, right? And she remarked like, "Holy hell, these guys are just like peeking at me like moles poking out of their holes through these things or whatever." Oh fuck, I was cracking up laughing. It was so funny. It was like yeah, but I'm definitely interested in seeking any and all partnerships to sort of move it forward from just sort of an idea that's just by one guy, and then bring it into something that can be. And that's the idea, is that I do want to bring the metaverse into something that will be. I do want to support the open web, the existing technologies. There are various initiatives for this, many. But I just want to move it forward.
Kind of makes me think of like it's the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. To be completely cheesy, and Graham, you might be a little too young for that.
I saw Field of Dreams, that movie, man. It was good.
Yeah.
You're looking at him, of course. Yeah, not me. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We're the same age.
I'm sure not everybody has seen that because, it really didn't seem to have popularity after it came and gone. So, but yeah, you got to build something to get people there. But this is a place that kind of you want to go to because people are there. So it's definitely this catch-22. So it's interesting. Now, what about though? Let's take these projects aside and let's just envision the metaverse that we want. So of course we talk about these books, or how about now that we've seen VR, we're here hanging out in a social space. What is it about this that we like? What do we want to see? And let's start with Gerald.
You mean what you want to see in the metaverse, or I didn't catch that?
Yeah, it's like the social part, right? We're all hanging in this metaverse. So what is this metaverse even, what is it? What would you want out of it? What would you want to participate in the future?
I honestly think that the first steps will always be gaming, and that's what I really want. I want the really big world that is similar to Minecraft, but with a lot more build options, where everybody can create the content they want, that is completely open source, where thousands of people have their own servers, where nobody will come and say, oh no, this is Star Wars, or this is Star Trek, or whatever, and you cannot use this, but where it's normal people, not companies, that have the servers, and so we will see everything, copies of Game of Thrones, just like in Minecraft. And those worlds will create it, and you do not really need a game. You can create games, you can create quests, you can create whatever you want. But that world I want to visit with friends and just explore. I do not think that really needs any rules or any systems. You just need to be able to create whatever you want. You need to be able to share those creations, and people will build that world on their own.
Yeah, definitely. And Jason, I haven't shot things over to you, and I'd like to get your opinion on the metaverse.
Yeah, I've talked extensively with our good friend over here regarding his own metaverse, and given my ranting rumblings about the idea. I like to think that when it comes to collaboration, that's my overall special sauce for what makes the metaverse a thing, but under the umbrella of cohesiveness. I think I would love to see the magical, universal intertwining nexus of user-created content, and I'm not even going to say that's what I want, because that's being done over there at the far side of my table, so I don't need to even talk about that. But what I think is what needs to be done, and what I'd want to see done in the VR space regarding the metaverse, is cohesiveness. I think in the shorter term is problem solving. I think what I want to see is it seems a bit jump of the gun in small terms to go for multiverse when we can't even get verse right. yet. And that's no indictment of any single individual solution, because I said the same thing as I said about paper and about monitors. We haven't come up with a single solution for how we deal with a good and powerful solution to inventories or menus or pop-ups or anything. So metaverse is still a huge, big puzzle to solve, and it's a built of jigsaw pieces that we haven't even solved the individual pieces of yet. So I would like to see individually a cohesive single user experience that scales. I would like to see that moment where someone can walk into a world and go, thought to deed. I want something, I want to see it done, and in flourishes and movements can generate whatever the hell they want. And I don't mean like an infinite your god power style moment. I just mean I have an idea, I want to see it realized. How can I get from A to B without going through 15 menus and drop downs and settings, or dragging things for 30 minutes to get the thing the way I want it to be.
So you're talking about efficiency of interaction, and you did say that it hasn't been nailed yet, but one popular paradigm that we all use now is the WIMP paradigm, as it's called: windows, icons, mouse pointing, that kind of thing, right? So we've kind of reached a happy medium right now where we're all pretty content with how Windows and Windows-like operating systems work. So you may not say it's nailed completely, but there's something that
is it the happy medium? But that's the thing, when we say it works really well, it means we have... Yeah, but it means we have acclimated to it. It's like anything in life. If someone pokes you in the arm with a very small but not painful stick every day for 3 years, you'll eventually get accustomed to it. But my overall point is simply that... Yeah, but the thing is, I totally respect that. I'm not a console guy, but I get why they want them. They believe that their UI is a cohesive A to Z. I want a game, I put in game plays. Computers are stupid, you have to open it, get your game thing, scroll through the menus,
so I'm curious,
have bugs and patches and fixes, and I can get that perception, and I think that's what our problem is that keyboard and mouse is an analog input to a digital world. It is overall, the whole experience is horrendous from start to finish. And it comes down to what I highly recommend before you go on. I don't mean to cut you off in advance, but one thing I would say is, before we go any further, just Joel on Software. I recommend that for everybody. He is an opinionated, harsh person regarding to the software development world, and he's got many followers and many haters. And I like to think I sit in the fence on that front. But he's got one particular article in one particular section that I really respect, because it phrased something in a way that opened my eyes. And it said, PC users hate Macs, and it is almost this sort of I hate Mac scourge, the scourge of the universe, and vice versa in some cases. And admittedly, it's more a PC thing than a Mac thing. PC users tend to hate Macs more. And I, hands up, I'm definitely in the trope of I hate Macs. And I know it's irrational, I know the reason why. And reading his article was the average PC super user. He is the guy who fixes computers, and he's a tech genius when it comes to PC. He can open the command prompt, he can open all the stuff, he can do whatever he wants to get things done. And his friend has a problem with their Mac, and they open it and they start playing with it. All of a sudden, shit starts going wrong. And it's not that it's wrong, it's that he's clicking close, but the close button isn't there. Or he Alt F4s and expects things to close, and they don't, and instead volumes change, and things alter in a way that he doesn't expect. And it's not a fault of the system, it is a fault of what his expectations are. And that's the kind of prevailing point. The trick is expectation, and that is a unifying UI design theme. Regardless of your actual ability or design or your concept, the unifying theme is it's what they call expectation. If you put 10 people in front of an empty screen and say, I have given you an application to do X, Y, and Z, mime it as if it exists already, they will use drop downs, they will find virtual buttons, and they will click things in a way which is cohesive with what they currently expect on the platforms they're used to. It is not indicative of the right way, it is indicative of what that muscle memory and training and ideas are. And as a developer, if you want your thing to succeed, you have to follow those tropes. And I 100% get that, and I respect every developer out there who follows existing paradigms to make this work. But the caveat to all I just said is VR is ground zero, and we can shuffle our thumbs and pull in these existing paradigms and sort of go, oh, it'll be easier for people to migrate. If we do VR this way, everyone will just be able to know what a page is and know what a menu is and know how to do drop downs. And the problem is we are pigeonholing ourselves in the same way I believe the iPhone did, in that it made every single phone beyond that point believe an icon screen is the correct answer to solve that problem. And I don't think it is. I think the problem with VR
I think this is turning from a conversation, though, into you talking for an hour.
Shoehorning in this existing thing.
So
that happens. Yeah, I apologize in advance. I do that a lot. Okay, I'll wrap up. My point is simply that I don't want people to pull this in. I don't want people to pull in existing UI and configurations and examples, because it's going to be this tedious facsimile of what we have in VR when we've got an extra axis and extra ways to interact with the world, and that is my problem. I think regardless of whether you're talking about single player, multiplayer, if you try to pull in what's there already, it's going to be this facsimile
it's almost like
there, and it's going to be
in,
ruining us for the future of VR. And I think if we start from scratch, we can do it well.
It's not, we pulled pages in for web, for the web, but now it's like we're pulling in games for this thing, this VR. And a lot of times I'll be like, well, this isn't a game, Riftmax, it's an experience for me. Mike Arms calls it a game, but it's almost like that's something that I'd like to see transcended. And now let's toss this over to James.
So I don't know if you're familiar with the curse of dimensionality, but I'll use it in a separate context here. You wanted the God mode, or the thing that just says, let me get directly to the operation that I want to perform. Nothing's better than a pure console command to do that. The idea, Xerox PARC, where they innovated, where they had a 2D interaction, where you actually had a mouse and a pointer, it was superfluous. Why have icons? Why do this? It was because of the richness to the computing experience that it brought. And now you look at VR next, where I've introduced another simulated dimension through stereopsis, saying, where's my God mode? What's been offered here isn't a God mode, but rather another dimension of richness for appreciation. Perhaps maybe not the goal of VR is to have a God mode to lead me immediately to do Command X, but rather for further appreciation of the experience of computing itself, if that makes any sense. So, I don't know, I get criticized this a lot. Why would I do this with JanusVR? It sucks. Why would I navigate pages in this way? It seems inefficient. To that I say, maybe the kinds of pages that you're not looking at the right kinds of pages. The kinds of pages you want to see in something like JanusVR would be something highly interactive, something highly experiential, something highly three-dimensional, something that necessitates the richness that the VR as a platform provides. If we just want to do something equivalent to a console command, obviously you're not going to beat a console for it. So that's the divergence of opinions. I'm not sure it's a ground zero thing. I see it as a further enrichment of existing paradigms. And people have been working on this stuff for decades and decades and decades, man. I'm not sure you can get around it.
Just want to toss to you, Ram, if you had anything to add there.
Yeah, sorry, my mono develop popped up on the screen and was taking over because it doesn't like to give control to any other application. I will give a quick opinion, but then I need to head to bed because it's 1 a.m. here and I have work tomorrow, unfortunately.
Sure. It's about time to wrap it up anyways, but I love this metaverse talk.
Yeah, so what we had the... Yeah, so I actually, let's see, both of those opinions are actually really good. I enjoyed hearing both of those, especially about JanusVR, because I do say, when I first saw Janus, super cool concept,
Dude, give it to me raw. Say all the shit. I do not mind.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna kind of get kind of bad, and it's gonna get good again. I mean, basically, when I first saw it, and it was just straight up web pages, I was like, this is neat. But this is the most inefficient thing I've ever seen. I mean, I just wanted to navigate a web page. 100%. I had to walk across the room to go see an image. I was getting sick instantly. I mean, I get sick in my DK1, so I was just like, okay, cool proof of concept. And then a week later, I started seeing these 3D rooms, the tags for 3D, for bringing in 3D things. And I thought, this can be something, allowing, what are the most... What kind of programmers are there most of in the world? And my guess is probably web developers. So enabling people to create 3D worlds in a web-based form was very cool, and that really got me excited for Janus, and and now things are even better. But at the same time, yeah. So so I see your argument as well, and as well as Fruits. It depends on the application. I think some people VR is for the experience. I think a lot of the time. It depends on the application. One, you're gonna want to enjoy it. Go through with your friends and walk around worlds. And in other pieces, maybe I have my virtual desk with 12 different consoles looking at me, and I want to be able to do things efficiently. It depends on the application.
Context is important for sure. Yeah.
But I think the way that Oculus is focused on now, gaming is the main thing. And I think for that, that comes down to experiences and just enjoying it. Obviously, if it's super inefficient, it's not going to be enjoyable because I'm going to be annoyed that, one thing, if I'm in a metaverse and I want to go to planet X, maybe the thing in this metaverse to do is to get in my spaceship and go there. But if it's going to take me fucking 6 hours to get to planet X, I'm going to be pissed unless there's, some better way of doing it. My 2 cents, but it's...
Yeah, I had a similar thought. I'm a web developer by day, so having to walk to content was an issue. But these things, I think they're evolving, like you've already evolved.
So it was one idea. It was an idea for interaction. You could picture the equivalent seated experience where the pages kind of dynamically come in and flow around you. So it's no longer a translation of your position relative to the world, but vice versa. The stuff flows at you. Such an interaction mechanism is still possible. The reason that I went with the sort of fixed space and you walk in it, because my future thinking idea was the collaborative browsing experience. When you think of, if I sit here and stuff flies at me, that doesn't work as well in the collaborative method of interaction. You need a static space in which characters can inhabit to make it, to place the world and have it seem fixed and do something that's actually practical. Yeah. So
that's the pattern that we're used to. Sure.
This was an early design decision, like I said, inspiration off sci-fi novels. It wasn't like, Professor Xavier in a wheelchair with just stuff flying by him. Rather, it was you hike it over here and there to these interesting spaces. So
yeah, and I'm assuming
your question, Graham, too. Yeah, because you could remove the sort of distance between you and the object, but it depends on what you're after, kind of thing.
Of course, and I do think there's a space for something in between there as well.
Yes, yeah, for
obviously, sure. There's a bajillion different ways you can go about it, but
and in fact, I haven't even explored the alternate view or even a dual view where you're in the 3D space, but you bring up a menu that actually shows you on a 2D plane, but sort of fixed in the world in front of you that's sort of statically there in space. The 2D view of the web page, and maybe if you click on an object, it actually manipulates something in the 3D world, and you have this level of interaction that people are familiar with. It's very experimental, and the fact that I'm rolling out my own engine and everything is I can go in any direction, and it's a lot of people trying out Janus, giving me their feedback, giving me their suggestions on what might be the most effective interface and sort of paradigm, in a sense, for interaction, and I'll just roll with it if it seems like it's viable and it'll work well. So get involved, kind of thing.
For me, if I think about what I want in my metaverse in the social spaces, is really me. Like, I want to be, as much as I can, be me around other people. It's really me and people is what I care about the most, and I want to be able to express myself. I want to be able for you guys to see me smiling, or to see Jason scowling, and to kind of be able to get familiar with each other in a richer way. I definitely want to consume a lot of other things, but I definitely want to consume them with people. But ultimately, I just really want to be able to be with people in places. And again, that expression, like here, I'm able to express myself on a virtual talk show here, and it's really exciting. I wouldn't really be able to do that so easily without this medium, or maybe just like in a video show, I'd be a little maybe shy because the camera's on. The virtual cameras already give me that feeling, but a real camera would actually heighten that. So I'm looking forward to being able to see myself evolve, maybe look like myself or maybe not, and also the same with other people. I mean, I think eventually when we're able to track our face and all of our limbs and stuff, we're really going to see each other more for real, and it's going to evolve, and it's going to be really, really neat I won't even need to have name tags or anything. Like, you won't need that. You'll just be able to tell, even if you can't tell from their face, but just how they're kind of moving and interacting with you. I think that's going to be some telling stuff that we're not really thinking about.
Hey Jason, I didn't mean to burn a bridge, man. I just, wanted to express a difference of opinion. Conflict's good for discussion purposes,
He loves it. I can't hear him.
He's muted to me too.
So this is like probably killing him. I wonder if he can hear us. Nope. Can't hear you, bud.
Can anybody hear me at all?
Now
I can hear you.
I'm guessing it's with a bad microphone. I'm guessing my good mic has probably died on me.
Yeah.
70 quid, god damn it!
Did the cable come out? Sometimes that happens. So, pretty much we need to wrap up, though. It's probably already been a couple hours, and that's a show. So, I did want to do some questions from the audience, and
that sounds fun.
Let's go ahead and line up, if you don't mind, at the microphones. And while that's happening, let's go around and do some plugs real quick. Gerald, can you plug your stuff? Where you want to send people?
I have no idea what you mean.
Just if you want to send people to your website or, whatever, or you can plug somebody else's thing, just kind of a moment for you to say, hey guys, check this thing out.
Oh, if you haven't, don't forget Technolust. That's the #1 thing to try with DK2.
Totally.
Blair from Toronto, Ontario, man. Another Canadian.
Well
Canadian. I know that.
Yeah, he's been on the show. I love that, demo. It's freaking. I was actually watching Hackers before that show when I was prepping and stuff, and it's something to put on. I never even saw it in Hackers, but it actually says "Trust Your Technolust" in just a small piece of paper in the background, and I just stumbled upon it that day before the show, and it was just kind of weird to me that I never seen it before, and I wasn't like intently watching it to see every little moment. I was just doing work, so that was pretty cool.
Oh, and if I may add one thing, there's this game that was called Windlands, and almost nobody knows about it, it seems. That's also one to really watch out for.
Windlands?
Yeah, it's like playing Zelda and Tarzan in one game in a fantasy world.
Cool.
Exactly.
And so far, a few people have dropped, so we'll come back to APieceOfFruit. What about you, James? You can obviously plug Janus, but any other specific, or other things you want to point people to?
To be self-promotional, I guess JanusVR.com, VRsites.com. This guy right here, to my left, Qster123. He runs that thing. He's doing an awesome job. That's the guy right there.
Is that Qster?
That's Qster, man. Yeah, so he runs VR sites.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt the party.
No, please go ahead and plug it. You've been around here. You're not a stranger to these parts. Definitely tell us about VR sites.
Can I do my bit then? Okay. I tell you, James is the
just stand.
Yeah, you probably not on camera.
Anywhere but there. Thanks.
Like next to me or next to.
Oh,
great. The front is recorded.
Have a seat or something even. Yeah?
There you go. Yeah, there's a seat open.
This was a match made in heaven. It wasn't meant to be. Well, it was meant to be that that James is writing an application that worked in really well with what I knew with PHP development.
Right.
And we kind of agreed it was a match made in heaven.
Yeah, he definitely filled a side that I didn't have. He made the world, available for people, but I made the client work.
Right.
Thing.
So I don't know if we're gonna end up making the metaverse, but we're gonna make one. We're gonna make one version of it, which at the moment is looking really good.
Well, Mozilla's interested in incorporating it too.
Cool. Thanks, Custer. And Jason, plug some stuff. We got Team Metatron, all kinds of goodness.
Can people hear me through my normal good microphone now?
Yeah, you're sexy again.
Yes, we can.
Oh, thank God. You can all guess a person like me does not do well when people can't hear him. Okay, plugging things. Right. I suppose I'll start with my brand new partner in crime, Additives. He's a member of Team Metatron, and we've both established that we are going to kick our own asses and get stuff out there. We've both lamented the lack of demos, and I gave that rant an episode back or so about how I don't see enough sort of stupid white rooms with boxes you can play with as a person who has a kid who wants to just sort of do things and try and take part in experiments. So I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and start doing that. And we've decided we're going to start doing some little tech experiments, or more accurately, releasing the tech experiments we're doing. So I would say watch that space. We're going to put out a few stupid things, and again, they're not games, they're not demos, we're not kickstarting anything, we're just basically saying, here's a room with a mechanic, play with it and see if we're right about our theories. Because there's a perfectly legitimate chance we're completely batshit wrong about everything we think, and I would love to know that, if it's true. So I would be more than happy to find out if I'm wrong. So that's what we're doing. We've both got fantastic ideas, bouncing off each other for that, so that's what our main thing is. As for Team Metatron as a whole, we've got VRChat coming out. I mean, Nate's a better man to talk to about that, but it's certainly an exciting project, and it's very close to having some interesting releases. The VR API project is coming to fruition to the point where it's worth talking about properly. So there's some interesting theories coming out and things coming out regarding that we might have releases soon. All in all, yeah, Team Metatron, watch this space. We're still looking for more people. Well, if you're interested, I mean, we have lots of people. If you want to join those people, feel free. Just get in touch with one of us. Aside from that, yeah, go VR. Yay.
Yeah, certainly. If you're interested in being part of Team Metatron, which I helped found back in the day, it seems like it's ridiculous. But it's the same interest that I always had is hanging out with people, getting people connected, and pretty much seeing what all these cool people are doing, but trying to facilitate an environment for people to do some cool stuff, not just play Minecraft all day. So yeah, we got some questions from some people over here. Let's start on my right. What's your name, and please state your question or comment.
Okay, so this is Zero Weight State. I suppose we're talking about the metaverse a fair bit, and I'm interested to see if any of you guys have heard about Otroy and their ideas. I read a white paper from them a while ago. They seem to have kind of stalled and then they keep going. But they were talking about building 3D objects which were rendered real time, with kind of physics built in, that you could add code to, and then their software stack was very small and then would run on Windows, Mac, Unix, whatever. Have any of you programs familiar with them?
What was the name of the reference, sorry?
Otroy is the name of the company. They do the Brigade engine, and I'm just trying to think of the name of their graphics driver.
I haven't heard of this myself.
Physics space. So if you build something to be glass, then it reacts like glass as far as light flowing through it, If you build it to be certain metal, then it will, reflect and have the right specularity, or, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I guess none of us have actually heard of it.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it. In the
I guess it's a
metaverse
great
context. You'd want to have eventually support for various kinds of materials, physics, things that can bounce around and all of that. But
yeah, my background's in 3D graphics and animation, so very familiar with building objects, making them look right. So having to surface it so it matches what you would expect to see. I suppose their idea is that you can build these objects and then add scripting to it. So, for instance, you could be in World of Warcraft and build like a bracelet that you carry around in the game, and then if somebody Skyped you while you're in the middle of a game, then Skype would actually come into World of Warcraft and be in the game that you're playing. To me, that's pushing into that metaverse kind of concept of being wherever you are and then having tools that you can use wherever you are. And the operating system that you're on not really having any effect.
Yeah, I think that's pretty rad.
Embedding additional behavior beyond the sort of geometry itself. That's kind of the idea, or?
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, for that instance, I was looking at the new SDK. They're talking about having multiple things be able to access the Rift and pull information out. Well, I suppose the same thing is then, can you then push multiple apps into the Rift? So you be in whatever environment you are, but then you have an application sitting outside that can then overlay the top of your visuals or be part of your avatar and give you information from outside. Or am I totally misperceiving the way they're talking about that?
Yeah, I want to look further into it. I think you've just given us a lot of homework to do. Can you announce that company or product again, and so we can take a look?
Yeah, sure. I know they had a really interesting white paper that had information about that. And I've kind of been flying on the radar because it's all very GPU intensive. So as time goes on and GPUs become, the GPU count becomes higher and higher and higher, these things operate quicker and quicker, or with less load, I suppose, on your system. So anyway, I suppose that's the end of my question. I just thought I'd see if there was any awareness in the community about those guys and what they're doing.
Yeah, can you say that one more time?
The company was Otoy, and I know they build an engine. It's called Brigade.
Brigade. Okay.
And I just can't think of the name.
Is it Octane?
Wait, not to
yes.
guys, but it's called.
So Octane Otoy that's the company.
Yeah, it's ray tracing engine.
I was thinking. Yeah, I was wondering if it was ray tracing, but
that's the Brigade engine. They run ray tracing.
They also acquired this.
Sorry, go on.
They also acquired this Octane render company, and that is effectively a thing that you could maybe plug into something like UE4 or Unity. It's essentially a rendering engine that does all kinds of really fancy stuff that you would normally have to send to your render farm or something, like beyond Pixar quality things,
I mean,
but in
this is
real
where
time.
My background from graphics comes through, and Otoy is the company that owns the whole lot of that.
Yeah.
So it's Otoy, and they have the Brigade and that rendering engine technology. Anyway, I'll move on and let somebody else bring up another issue.
Yeah, I wish we were able to bring up videos in the show. This would be a great time to kind of dive into that. But yeah, thanks for the question and comment. Let's move over to the person on my left. Oh, thanks, man. Thanks, Zero. Who's on my left?
It's Holotape.
Hey, I know you.
Woo! Woo. Hey, guys. This is a question for James, or I suppose Custer. I've spent a bit of time in Janus, and I'm wondering it's kind of difficult. I don't have a whole lot of time to go through every single room, and I realize that one of the things you sort of deal with when you open, a world up for anybody to build, it becomes.
Yeah, I think I already know the answer to your question.
Or
What's
whatever,
the cool
where,
stuff?
there could be, let's say, awesome sites, and there could be. Pretty much. And also, are you planning on, creating like a curated section in there or something?
Good question.
So actually, an interesting thing I'm doing is I'm leveraging Reddit to handle that for me. So if you go to reddit.com/r/VR sites, it's kind of like a what's hot now kind of thing. It will give you kind of the top 25 list of, what's like new and cool to look at, which makes things easy.
Okay, cool, thanks.
So, and actually what I've done, I don't know if you've tried a recent client, I've actually, if you look at the VR sites portal, just to the left of it, there's like a Reddit indexed version of VR sites that shows you like the community voted like coolest stuff going on. So.
Okay, I'll check that out. Maybe this isn't the forum for it, but I have to completely disconnect my audio interface to even run the program. I'm not quite sure what that's all about. But
there's some issue with Qt integration and the multimedia and how it handles like at the audio outputs. It's a bug, either between them and their libraries or something I'm doing wrong. But you have to muck around with it a little bit to make it work.
Yeah, I have a FireWire audio interface. I just had to unplug it, basically. So.
Yeah, I in general, I think Janus gets confused when there are multiple audio outputs.
Yeah.
Just like an extra digital one kind of thing. Yeah, I could look into it. It's on my list of a billion things to do.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks, Howard.
I must say, as a quick aside to that, personally, I don't look at the list of cool content. That's, again, it's a personal thing. Because aside from Minecraft, Janus is my second most used VR application.
Really?
I've spent... Oh, yeah, I probably should have mentioned that. I've spent, I'd say, 12, 14 hours in Janus. I just love... I love
porn.
The random... Porn, no, for me, it's about the feeling like you found a gem in the internet. In the same way you follow the TV tropes train of hell, I like doing that in Janus. I like going through a door to a door to a door to a door, and all of a sudden you hit a brick wall, you backtrack, and all of a sudden you find a room that, granted it's just a link someone else could link to, but I like the feeling that I've gone through 45 doors and found this room, and it is now my favorite room in Janus, and it's something that I feel like, while I could save it as a link on the front door, I like leaving it there so I can always have to go through this meandering path to get to it. And
that's the thing that people were saying to me, like, you should get rid of all these redundant doors, and I was like, actually no, I should keep them. Keep all these dead doors, so you have to go through one by one, and you will eventually find something that's got something of value in there. Like you said, you just have to go through one by one. If you sign up and you join VR sites, you have a door, you have a room, and if you don't do anything with that, then it's redundant. If you do something with that, then we can go and have a look at it.
Yeah, I love that comment.
I'm all for that. Yeah, I'm all for that sort of random meandering, and I just...
It's fun.
My overall point is that when people say about interesting content, people who've not tried it or not played it, it's not a question of you enter it and you're kind of going, crap, where's the fun stuff? It is, if you're that way like-minded, it's got that sense of just open damn doors, and I love how it's it's non-linear, it's not like you go down a corridor. You can keep going to the point where you iterate a background in a circle and find something in some roundabout way when your friend could have found it in 3 clicks if he'd done it a different way than you did. So
not even that, like now you can go do it with your friends, and I think that's what ends up maybe being really cool.
Yeah.
Like, hey, check out this door over here, it's freaking got lots of porn.
Technically, you can say,
you can watch porn with your buddies, right? That's what you want to do.
Check out this porn through this portal. You can make the portal? Would that be a right word? I don't know. But then they could all flow through it with you, and yeah, it could be a weird orgy porn go together through the internet orgy thing.
We should have a porn meetup in Janus.
Actually, my favorite
Special virtually incorrect with Gunter documentary on the craziest porn in Janus. This is a good time to plug Nuke Marine, man, because he's
we talk about it. Yeah,
he's innovating in that space.
Yeah,
he's working on. Oh, we've got.
No. You can't let him. You can't. He's not the man. You have to kind of.
He knows the guy.
Yeah, he knows the guy that's doing it, but it's not him. It's not him.
Anyway, all the interesting sort of projective models you want to try, and all the interesting side-by-side 3D and various stereo 3D video formats. People are playing with all that, and Janus is a platform that allows easy creation, so that's been the convergence. It was actually brought to my knowledge that potentially, like 3/4 of like the community that's interested or whatever are like on some site that's XXX that I've not heard of, rather than like the main like Reddit r JanusVR thing. But hey, whatever, man. I'm working on the technology, man. However it's adopted, however it gets there, it gets there. So
sure,
I'm working on the clean stuff. So yeah,
we like dirty stuff. Cool. And on my right side,
one last thing. Speaking of Janus porn, my favorite thing about that is not the porn itself, but for me, it's the portal porn. It is that one room of absolute awesome which someone has made the brain fuck room, which is these obtuse shaped freaking rectangles and things interlaid, and I just absolutely had an absolutely brain aneurysm thing.
Yeah, dude.
Crazy ass dreams the following night.
I think we need to thank Nuke Marine for that.
Yes, thank user Reddit. I haven't plugged him. Reddit user Nuke Marine. He's an innovator.
Yeah, he's been on the show, and he's hanging out here a lot. So we're friends and have had many a chats. And to kind of finish up with questions and put a bow tie on this show, let's do one more question on my right. Can you state your name and give us your question?
Sure, my name's Clan Solo, and I've been using JanusVR a lot lately, and I really enjoy it.
Awesome.
The biggest thing that I see is it's really social. Like, instead of the web where you're just all alone, you can actually follow other people, see what they're doing, and you can instantly drop in a portal and show other people what you're doing, which is quite amazing to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So my main part of this question is that I see like as a portal is like sort of like a superpower, and I was thinking of other VR type titles like Titans of Space, where you can actually do like a really infinite zoom. Sort of like we building like a set of tools that can be integrated into a lot of different metaverses, such as these, like the infinite zoom and the instant portal to share your information.
I'm not sure what the question is.
Yeah, so like we're building these tools. Basically, do you see the possibility of other tools? So if we have like an infinite zoom and you can build instant portals, can you guys think of any other tools that we may possibly be integrating into the new metaverses that are to come?
Yeah, infinite zoom's kind of a funny one because you're ultimately limited by frustum near and far plane distances and sort of the granularity or depth precision of the depth buffer there. In terms of other interesting or cool tools,
I guess it's more towards the superpowers, like you can fly, and like I was really fascinated with Titans of Space, where you're flying around the planets, and then you can push a button and the space bar, I think, and you can like look at the planets closer, where you can't do that in the real world. And now I'm thinking like JanusVR, the really cool thing was that you could drop a portal in instantly and show somebody, go into this room and I can show you this really cool thing that I built. And I was thinking,
it's like a superpower of sorts. I get it.
Well, but we do have walk speed, run speed, and velocity jump.
How you can jump.
Gravity.
Those are room-defined settings, though. But
Well, James, maybe I could plug my my moon
Sure.
demo. Yeah, so basically I have...
Can't really hear him. Can't hear you, man.
You have to speak right into it loudly.
Alright, so is that better?
A little bit.
Okay, so yeah, I have this moon demo, right? It's like it's a scale size moon of Deimos, which is like a moon of Mars or whatever. And basically it's got what you're talking about, except it's a 1-to-1 scale of a full-size moon, right? And it has very textured, it's infinitely scaled texture, stuff like that, and everything's scaled, 70-meter DSN dishes, stuff like that. So it's possible within Janus. Like, I built a full-size planet Earth, but it has some limitations right now because of the buffer, right? It's only 64-bit, so you can't make it too large. But yeah, I just wanted to say that.
When I think about like superpowers, I really think of the creators. Like, these are gods that are creating the worlds, and really they're going to get to design some of these superpowers. But VR and social spaces, certainly, you know, we're going to have some interesting tools at our disposal. I'd definitely like to not forget anybody's name, so having my heads-up display or something let me know what everybody's name is clearly, so I don't need to screw that up anymore. Maybe like how many times I've encountered that person or things like that.
Yeah, this question in particular is my jam. This is exactly what my like VR thing is about. I just love the prospect of VR superpowers, and my main thing is I call it thought to deed, but it's the concept is when I want something, I don't want to go through a submenu. I want the idea, I want the limitation for me to want something and to have something happen to be as minute as possible, and preferably muscle memory. So the two answers to your question in my mind is, one, I think associated actions is going to be a big deal in terms of that experience, in that whether you're talking about a neural headset or a Mayo or any other thing, a recorded action, whether it's a thought, whether it's a key press, whether it's a motion, whether it's something that then associates to a fired action, is going to become much more prevalent in terms of having these things that personally is easy for you, that is associated to an action, and you take away that sort of general UI by having these personal motions and actions. And secondly,
the other thing I was thinking of as well was that, like, I'm trying to think of this as a generic case. Like, maybe I want to shrink down right now, or I want to grow big. Mm-hmm. You know, that's not something you can do in every game or every VR metaverse right now. But maybe you should be able to do that. And these are the superpowers that I'm talking about. Like, should these be enabled in all metaverses, and will they be?
There's a lot of consideration that has to be taken into account, though, when you're scaling the size of the character. When people create these assets and they make these worlds, they kind of have presumptions or assumptions on the constraints of the size of the character and things. So things just kind of work, especially in a graphical sense. But there's no reason that you can't have worlds where your scale changes dynamically. What you probably want to do, though, is scale your virtual interpupillary distance with respect to the height of your character, keep it feeling realistic. Mm-hmm. And since the Oculus SDK 0.4, now that they've added the translation aspect to it, you actually want to keep the positional translation also relative to the same measure that you're using for the IPD. So, you know, as you scale your character down, obviously you want the positional translation to, you know, suitably, you know, also reduce in its scale as well. So when you lean, it doesn't go as far when you're a smaller character. You want to keep everything as one-to-one as possible, but you can definitely do this thing where you could just, you know, play with the parameter of scale and have like a small character, a giant mecha character, or whatever.
Cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. We'll definitely continue all this after the show, and it's definitely, we all want superpowers, but yeah, how are you going to limit things? Because if you just have it all wide open for every experience, it's definitely going to be challenging. So,
did you know that even Snow Crash foretold, though, having like a maximum limit on like the height of your avatar in the world? It's like stuff you wouldn't even have, because it never existed then. Yeah. They thought about these weird considerations like that.
Sure.
We figured that out last night.
Huh?
I said we figured that out last night, huh?
Doesn't matter when I learned it, man. It's just that I learned it. Holy shit. No.
Totally. All right, guys. So thanks for everything here. Thanks for being on the show. I do want to make a couple more announcements and a reminder that if you want to be on Virtually Incorrect, just send me a Reddit ping, Gunter444, and always are still looking for an editor and other people to be on the team. So if you're interested, reach out. And that's it. So it's been a pleasure being your host tonight. Thanks to Riftmax and the Virtually Incorrect team, to the guests and audience members, to all the authors and commenters on the stories, and everybody watching from home. And that's pretty much it. I've got to go boil some turkeys, and that's it. Good night, everybody. Thank you.